You used to be married to your daughter.
Yes, Your Honor.
And according to what I've read, they were married for about 5 years.
Yes.
The thrust of your claim is that he owes for a couple of things, for rent and the balance of a truck. That's your lawsuit against him. I'd like to know, do you know the date of their marriage?
3/16/2011.
And your ex-wife's first name?
Jacqueline?
And when did you and your former wife separate?
In 2020.
And you had 2 children. How old are they now?
They are 5 and 8.
And who has custody of the children?
Dalton has physical, and they have joint custody.
Just a second. So he has custody of the 2 younger children?
Yes.
That's a yes. How long have you had custody of the 2 children?
Since July of last year.
At some point during the marriage, there was a truck purchased.
Yes.
Who purchased the truck?
Dalton purchased the truck. I co-signed for it.
And when was it purchased? Month and year?
June of 2017.
Was that the only car
Yes.
that they had?
Yes.
So that was a family car.
Yes.
And in 2017, was your daughter working?
Yes.
So both parents worked. And both parents, I assume, pooled their money and I assume made car payments.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
Is that correct? Both. And then they separated in 2020, and at that time, the children came to live with you.
Correct.
And you took the truck
Yes.
by agreement with your now ex-wife.
Yes.
In 2020, who made the car payments?
My husband did.
Is that correct?
Yes. I made all of the car payments on that vehicle, all of them, from the time it was purchased until we paid it off.
Okay, so what you're telling me is from 2017, you made all the car payments.
That's correct.
Did your daughter and son-in-law make any of those payments?
Not directly, but they paid toward the balance of the money that they were.
You
Okay.
paid for the truck
That's correct.
since 2017, since they
correct.
were married,
Yes.
with no reimbursement.
I took payments out of my daughter's check.
Just be very, very careful with me, sir.
Yeah.
I want you to be very careful with me. I read that, what we call in Yiddish, Babameises in here, that you took money out of your daughter's check. Babameises, it means grandma's tale. It means it's not true. It means it doesn't sound right to me. I read it in here. Don't try to repeat it here because that won't be good for you. Okay, I'm going to believe you if you show me copies of her checks that you made to her with withdrawals from money she owed you. That's all I want to see. Do you have that?
I do not.
Not, of course not. Now, he has the truck, and this was clearly either a gift or a marital debt. Either one of those 2 things. It's either a gift or a marital debt. It was a family car that was used by your daughter, her husband, the grandchildren, with, according to you, no reimbursement, according to you, except this ridiculous reimbursement from your daughter's check, which I don't believe, so I'm not even going into it, with no reimbursement 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. And when your daughter and the defendant separated in 2020, according to him and according to you, he took the truck and the children. And that was with her consent or not?
Yes, it was.
With her consent. Is that so far right? That's what you're telling me.
It's accurate.
Right. Did you intervene in the divorce proceeding and say that there is money owed, marital debt owed, and part of the marital debt is this loan on the truck?
No.
No, no. The answer is no, you did not. It would also be fair to say that you don't know how much, according to you, she paid for the truck.
I do, Your Honor. I have
Well-
that ledger that I have. I would go to her each week and say, Jacqueline, how much can I take toward the loan? And that's how much I would take off each week.
All you have to do, sir, is show me. Otherwise, this is a whole bunch of nonsense.
Yeah.
It's a marital debt. You did not intervene in the divorce proceedings and say, listen, this is a debt that's still outstanding, whatever it is, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. You didn't do that. Now, the only thing that you can say to me with regard to this truck business is if you had, careful, had an agreement with the defendant in 2017 to pay the truck. And be very careful, because what you've told me is he didn't make any payments to you from 2017 ever.
He made some payment.
Just a second. Interesting. Show me where he made payments? Did you give him a receipt for payments?
No, this is a small town, and
It's not a small town, it's a family, sir. It's not a small...
I do have the ledger.
I'm not interested in the ledger you created. It's self-serving and therefore inadmissible and created for the purpose solely of this litigation and not created at the same time that the event took place. I might even cut you a little slack if you had a ledger, a book with entries in it at different times from 2017 in different ink with a day, how much was paid back, how much was paid back on the loan. I guarantee you do not have that. You have a very nice piece of white paper that you created for me. Is that correct? That is correct.
That is accurate.
Okay, so I'm not interested in your ledger. That's not a ledger. That's a document prepared for the purposes of litigation. So I want you to tell me what conversation you had and when with Mr. McDonald about paying for the truck.
Caption, coming up.
They bought this boat from you.
Accurate.
And how much did you sell it to them for?
$2,500.
Did they pay you for it?
No, part of that was put on the ledger, and part of it was cash.
You know I'm not buying your whole story.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Herman, Tina, and Dalton.
Herman and Tina Smoody claim their former son-in-law, Dalton McDonald, owes for unpaid loans.
Now, I want you to tell me what conversation you had and when with Mr. McDonald about paying for the truck.
That was from the very beginning because I was paying all their bills.
Just a sec. I don't care whether you were paying their bills. I understand you were paying all their bills because they came to live with you for a brief period of time because they were evicted for whatever reason, and that was sometime in 2016. Okay. So I understand that you were paying their bills. Well, sometimes that's what parents do. They pay their bills.
We were paying their bills because they had no checking account.
That doesn't matter to me. I want to know your conversations with, where did it take place? Because you're not suing your daughter, you're suing him.
The conversation was when we rented the farm for them, which I know is not with the truck, but the landlord would not let them rent from them because they had terrible credit.
We'll get to the rent later. Stick with the truck. Don't talk to him when I'm asking him questions.
Well, the truck was the same thing. We put that on the ledger then, or on the running total, and they agreed. They both agreed that they were going to pay us off.
Okay.
He came over on Labor Day weekend, and I showed him the ledger, which he saw all the time.
No. Don't tell me what he saw. Don't tell me what he saw. If what you're saying is you showed him the ledger when he came over with the boys,
yes,
and he was going back to Minnesota.
Right.
And he brought the boys to see you to say goodbye?
Correct.
Okay, so far, it's very nice. You have a reasonable relationship with him, and certainly your daughter was clearly overwhelmed because courts do not usually split up children, so they must have felt that the children's best interest would be served if they remained with their father. Clearly what happened, the father came over to you to let you say goodbye to the children, and when he came over to let you say goodbye to the children, let me understand what you're saying to me. What you said to him was, not thank you for taking over this responsibility. Your daughter had more children than she could take care of, physically or financially, right? Clearly.
Yes.
Clearly. So what you want me to believe that two nice people who took in their daughter with her two kids and a husband and bought a truck and made arrangements for them to have some place to live, that these two nice people, when he came over, because your daughter couldn't take care of her children, and he brought them to say goodbye, you said, it's very nice. I want you to take a look at this ledger and see how much money you owe me. That's what you're asking me to believe, right? I'm going to let you live with that fantasy that I believe that.
And so I did give him the balance of what he owed me on the rent.
No.
And on the truck.
Nice.
And
he
he looked me in the eye, he shook my hand and said, Jerry, I promise I'm not going to screw you on this. I'm going to make those payments.
Make payments for what?
On the rent and on the truck.
Okay. Did you have that conversation with him?
No, I did not, Your Honor. The conversation was when I came up there the last time, Jerry was trying to sell his fishing boat, so I posted it on Facebook, and I sold it for him.
In what month and year?
That would have been September of 2020. After selling the boat, he gave me $1,200 for helping him.
How much did he sell the boat for?
It was $4,700.
So that was after you'd already moved?
Correct.
With the children?
Yep.
Okay. He helped you sell the boat for $4,700? Just answer my question.
No.
Did you give him $1,200?
No. He bought that boat from me a year prior to that. He had it.
So they bought this boat from you.
Accurate.
When?
That would have been in the spring of 2019.
And how much did you sell it to them for?
$2,500.
Did they pay you for it?
No, part of that was put on the ledger, and part of it was cash.
You know, I'm not buying your whole story. I'm not buying your whole story
sorry,
because what
Your
if...
Honor, I'm telling you the honest to God truth.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that I would have sold people who had no credit, who couldn't buy themselves a truck, so you had to co-sign for the only means of transportation that they had, who couldn't pay for their rent, who couldn't pay their bills because of their bad credit. I don't believe this whole scenario about selling them a leisure boat for $2,500. It's mind-boggling that you would think that an intelligent person like me would accept that. Okay, forget the truck. You have the truck now.
Yes.
Okay. You haven't finished your story with me, so sold the boat, and he gave you $1,200.
Correct. I gave him the $1,200 back, which made us even on the truck payment, and he gave me the title. Tina signed it, and then I brought it back to Minnesota and put it in my name.
Okay. Who signed it?
Tina signed it.
My name was on it as well.
Your name?
Yes.
As joint owners with him?
Yep.
Co-signer.
Oh, interesting. In what month did Mrs. Smoody
Yes.
sign over the car to you?
The same day that I gave Jerry the $1,200, that would have been in September.
Now, do you remember the $1,200?
No, it was $1,000 that he paid toward the loan when I sold the boat for him.
Okay.
And it was his boat that I sold for him.
Okay. You did not create this as a marital debt. It absolutely was a marital debt. So I'm dismissing that portion of your claim that deals with the truck. Now, let's deal with the rent. The rent that you're talking about was rent in what property?
The farmhouse that they rented.
From
in
when to when?
2016, November 2020.
And over the years that they lived there as a couple.
Yes.
The rent was paid to a landlord.
Correct.
By you.
Yes.
Is that right?
Correct.
And they, your daughter and her husband, would give you cash, checks, or whatever
Cash,
to
usually.
cover the rent.
Yep.
Yes.
And how much did they give you to cover the rent?
When we started out, rent was $800, and later on he raised it to $900. We never made it a set amount each week. They gave us what they could. And we've done this before in the past, and they've always paid us back.
Well, then you should have sued them and listed all of this as a marital debt in the process of their divorce. So it could all have been...
We're handling
it could all have
Jacqueline
been,
in another way.
You what?
We're handling Jacqueline alone.
I don't understand what that means.
Well, you're saying it was
does that mean,
marital.
just a second. Does that mean that you've already served your daughter with a summons?
Not yet, no.
Of course not. Of course not. And you did know when they were divorcing.
Yeah.
You did know when they
Yeah.
were divorcing. I'm not buying anything of this lawsuit, most of which, at least the rent part, is totally stale. I'm just curious, Mr. and Mrs. Smoody, somebody wants to answer this question for me. Mr. McDonald has custody of your two young
Yes.
grandsons, who I assume that you were close to because they lived with you in your house. And you
They came back
seem
to
like...
live with us. The two boys came back to live with us.
From when to when?
December of 2021 until July of 2022. 6 months we had them.
Just a second, 2022. Was there a court proceeding?
No,
But then in July, they went back with their father.
that's accurate.
And they've been with their father since.
Yes,
Okay, so the boys lived with you for 6, 7 months.
right.
Was that an acrimonious transfer?
Caption coming up.
That's what you meant when you said any employer that has gone through all that paperwork and red tape, as I have, will do anything to avoid it. The anything is firing the employee.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Herman, Tina, and Dalton.
Herman and Tina Smoody are accusing their former son-in-law, Dalton McDonald, of refusing to pay back loans.
Was that an acrimonious transfer, or was it something that you both...
What happened there was he called my husband to see if
No,
we would...
no, don't tell me what he said to your husband.
Okay, you
I
can
will tell you
him.
then. He called me in December and asked me if I would please take the two boys. I told him, I will take them, Dalton, if you start making regular payments,
Oh, well,
we
that's,
would.
we're out of the money business now, sir. What you're saying is from 2017, when the children were in his custody, your daughter may have been there, but they were in joint custody, and then he maintained custody of the children, and during the time he maintained custody of the children, there was no question whatsoever that he was not paying you back money. He did not make any payments to you. Occasional here and there, we don't keep records. All of a sudden, now you have the boys with you. And then in July, he comes back and he takes the boys back. All I asked you was whether that was an acrimonious, which is an unpleasant, or a harmonious transfer of the children. Mr. Smoody was in July.
In July, it was acrimonious because at that point, he'd gotten a restraining order against me.
Against you?
Against me while we had the children, because I sent him a letter saying that I wanted payment, and he went and got a restraining order against me because they took that as a threat.
I'd like to see the letter, please, Kevin.
Herman hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
And this is what needs to happen moving forward.
That's correct.
You need to mail me $200 on the 1st of every month and $200 on the 15th, starting March 1st, 2022. If I do not get these payments on time, the following will happen, which is, you know, you could say, I'm going to sue you, right? I'm going to sue you, but that's not what you say. You say, I will go to your boss and talk to them about garnishing your wages. Any employer that has gone through all the paperwork and red tape as I have will do anything to avoid it. So that's a threat. What you're saying is, I'm going to call your boss and tell him that I'm going to sue you, and then your boss is going to have to go through all the red tape of what it means to have a garnish on your salary. You have to go through accounting, and they have to deduct it. And no boss wants to do that, which is in effect say, so either you pay me or your boss is going to fire you. That's what you meant when you said, any employer that has gone through all that paperwork and red tape, as I have, will do anything to avoid it. The anything is firing the employee. The only thing that
you can legally fire somebody.
Just a second. Whether you can legally fire them or not, that's what you were threatening. That's what that said. So we got an order of protection against you.
Correct.
And?
Then I didn't fight it because I didn't anticipate having any conversations or contact with him.
When you wrote this letter,
Yes.
You had the boys.
Yes.
Right. Not before.
No.
Not before. And he had had the boys for some time alone.
3 months.
He had had the boys for some time alone. Okay. Let's go back to my original question, which was, when the boys went back to their father, was it acrimonious or harmonious?
It was not good.
Well, so tell me your version of what happened.
The reason it was acrimonious is because he knew very well that once we got him, we put him on a strict schedule. 8 o'clock, brush your teeth, 8:15, pajamas, 8:30, bed.
Where was your daughter living at this time?
With us.
Yeah, just to say, if you're going to interrupt him because you want to get it out,
I'm sorry.
That's not going to be good for you.
She had a room at our house.
Just a second. So your daughter was living with you. So what you're telling me was your daughter was in the wind someplace.
Accurate.
Okay. You know, you had her for a long time. He only had her for 5 years. And I can understand the sadness if your daughter is in the wind and not being responsible, sir. But that doesn't mean he has to shoulder all the burden. Right now, he's shouldering all the burden of supporting the 2 children, which I assume you're doing. They're living with you. And so are you working?
Yes, I am.
And he's working. Your daughter is not.
She's working 2 jobs.
She always has.
If she's working 2 jobs, why was she in a
She
room?
wasn't renting. She was living there free.
Okay, so now let's get back to this acrimonious transfer of the children back in July.
Dalton called me, or called the kids.
Okay, so he called the
After
children.
bedtime.
Okay,
Called
and
my wife's phone 4 times. Ring, 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 ring. And she wouldn't answer because kids were in bed. And then he called my phone twice. The second time, I have an old flip phone. I flipped it, walked in, because now I hear the boys are awake. I let them talk to the boys. And then I took the phone back and I said some naughty things to him and hung it up.
What did you say naughty things to him for?
Because I was very angry at him. Can I use some swear words that I used when I told him?
No, I assume you used some terrible words.
Yeah,
but
I
want
just
the
told him,
thrust
don't
of it.
call me anymore.
Is there any reason that you discussed with your wife why she didn't answer the phone?
Because the boys were already in bed. He had done that before.
You already told me that you heard the boys, so you took the phone into his room.
After the phone calls, they woke up.
Is what you're telling me that the first time that he tried to talk to the boys, that you or your wife didn't answer the phone?
I think it probably happened once or twice prior, and then we told him, don't do it anymore.
Okay, fine.
And this time we were fed up.
Fine. So that's when he said, I'm coming to take the boys.
No.
Well, when did he say he was coming to take the boys?
Not until July. Jacqueline told us that Dalton was going to be taking the kids once they got out of school.
Okay, I'm going to take the pain out of this case, and I'm going to do it relatively quickly. I think, Mr. and Mrs. Smoody, that this lawsuit was very ill-advised. The defendant doesn't owe you any money. He doesn't owe you any money because if there was money owed, it was a marital debt, and it should have been taken up at the time of the divorce, listed as a marital debt, and then it could have been fixed by the judge who approved the divorce how much and by whom is owed money. You chose not to do that. It was only after a very acrimonious set of circumstances, roughly 5.5 years later, after this truck was purchased, that you chose to exercise any prerogatives with regard to a debt, except this letter, which threatens to go to his boss to get him fired if you don't stop making payments, and that was only after the 2 children came to live with you and were sort of overwhelmed. You have to understand, Mr. McDonald, who I think probably is trying, he's got the 2 boys. It got very complicated, but it's not a lawsuit, and I would make nice with him. He's got 2 children that you probably want to have some connection with, and this lawsuit certainly doesn't help that. Well, anyway, for all the reasons that I've stated, your lawsuit's dismissed. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Herman.
He owes us that money. He admitted he owed us the money.
I think the judge was absolutely correct.
He promised he was going to pay us the money back.
I don't owe Jerry any money.
Kids are irresponsible, have no sense of honor, duty, respect, responsibility, nothing.
It really should be a family thing, and maybe one day it can go back to it.
This was a great case that explains why a lot of cases in civil court have a statute of limitations before you can bring a certain kind of case, because here it was hard for us to understand why they would not have requested that money back earlier. So when you ask for it now, years down the line where so much has happened, court's not so likely to feed into that because you don't know what the real motivation is behind it.
I agree. I think it's really foolish of them, especially since their ex-son-in-law has total custody of these 2 little boys, for them not to maintain reasonable relationship with him.
It was a good showing, though, that if you do give money to your daughter, son, and their significant other, and they do get divorced, you should follow that divorce proceeding. So if you do have a claim,
a legitimate debt
or claim, then
listed,
that's the place where you should bring it.
Absolutely.
Title: Judy Justice.
Are you having a family dispute? Go to are suing John's former client, Cynthia Booth, and her fiancé, Dwayne Burnley, for posting damaging reviews.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Judge.
Why,
Case
Kevin?
2079, Frazee versus Burley Booth.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Frazee, you are an electrician by trade.
Correct.
And how long have you been in that business, sir?
Since 1986 as a license and 1978 as an electrician.
Now, maybe a decade ago, you're going to give me the exact year, month and year. You were called to do a job for this lady. Your last name is?
Booth.
Miss Booth. And you did an electrical job for her. We'll go into it more fully in a minute. When you were doing that job, you brought in a helper. This gentleman whose name is Mr. Burnley.
That's correct.
And before you brought in Mr. Burnley, I gather from the papers, Mr. Burnley did not know Miss Booth. Would that be a fair statement?
That's a fair statement, but he did not bring me in. I was actually just driving down the street, and I'm new to the mountain, and I drove by and saw Mr. Frazee there, and I was...
Listen, this is not Gone with the Wind. This is not War and Peace. I asked you a simple question. Before you were brought in on the job, you didn't know Miss Booth.
That's correct.
Right. And that was about 10 years ago.
Correct.
Since that time, since you were brought in on the job, you and Miss Booth have gotten to know each other a lot better.
Correct.
And I assume that by a lot better, that the 2 of you live together.
Correct.
And you've been living together for how long?
Since November.
Of this last year,
Yes.
November of 2021. But prior to that, you were social friends.
Correct.
And that social friendship started when first introduced to her at this job. It's the first time you met her.
Oh, that's the first time I met her, correct.
Correct. This is your problem, and this is the nature of your lawsuit. You allege that you did a job for Miss Booth almost a decade ago, and you came to ascertain that Miss Booth and/or Mr. Burnley had written some negative reviews about your company, currently wrote negative reviews about your company based on work that you did 10 years ago.
Yes.
That's your complaint. And you asked them to take them down. First they did, then they didn't. You found other ones posted in different areas. Now, Mr. Burnley, are you a working man, sir?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an electrical contractor in Big.
Okay. Now, at the time that you first met Mr. Frazee, did you have your own company?
Yes.
You had your own company.
Yes.
In what year did you do Miss Booth's job?
I did it on April 30th, 2013, Your Honor.
That's not correct.
That's not correct.
Shh. Month and year, you say you did the job.
The job was done on May 9th of
what?
2013.
Okay, so we're off by a month. Is that right? I don't care. You were talking about 9 years ago.
Correct.
Now, tell me something about the job. What was the nature of the electrical job that you were doing?
An older home needs to have at least a minimum of a 100 amp service. Ms. Booth's home had a 70 amp service at the time. She was purchasing it, and that came up on the inspection report to replace that, which I was engaged to do.
So far, correct?
No.
Well, now I'll have your version. Did you have to upgrade the electric?
I had to upgrade due to a homeowner's insurance.
Okay, well,
That's
the
what
home-
they required.
What's the difference in what he said? He said that you had to have your electricity upgraded, and it came up in the inspection report.
It did not come in an inspection report.
Well, then how did they find out?
I
Who
was
found out
honest
about
with
it?
my policy.
What do you mean you were honest with your
Well,
policy?
they asked me what year the house was and what amperage it had, and I said 75.
And your insurance company said to you, it has to be 110
100,
or 100.
yes.
Before you could move into the house, for one reason or another, you had to upgrade the electric.
Correct.
Okay, and you hired Mr. Frazee
Yes,
to
they
do
were
that.
my friends.
I don't care whether he was your friend or not. If he was your
Okay.
friend and he was a vet, you wouldn't have hired him to do
No.
your electrical work.
Of course
He was your
not.
friend and he was an electrical contractor.
Right, correct.
And when he came to your house to look at the job, did he come alone or with a helper?
Alone.
Once you change the ampage in a house, do you have to get somebody from either the county or the city where you live to sign off on it? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
And once Mr. Frazee did that, modified the ampage, did you have an inspection?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have that inspection?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at it.
And the job was not.
I didn't ask you anything.
That also includes Mr. Burnley's
Just a second.
inspection.
Just a second.
I'm sorry.
Don't volunteer. I'm old. I get confused. I try to keep these things very linear, so even I understand them.
Judy reviews a document.
This is the inspection sign-off on the work that you did in 2013. Have you seen it? Yes, of course you have.
No.
Well, show it to them. You do remember that you had to have an inspection afterwards.
Of course.
Ms. Booth.
Of course.
Okay, it's just common sense. If you didn't have the work done and you said to your insurance company, I had the work done, the insurance company would say to you, show me proof that you had the
Correct.
work done, otherwise we're not giving you insurance.
Correct.
So you know you had an inspection after he completed the work.
It wasn't after
It was,
the work.
The work was never,
Shh, shh. I didn't ask you anything.
Okay.
But I will answer for you.
She
Your
wasn't-
Honor.
You can.
Okay.
You can. So the insurance company accepted your word that the work was done.
Yes.
Okay. Can I have that back, please?
And I did tell them I had it signed off, but it was signed off when the job was half done.
That's your problem. You want to sign off when something's half done? Fine. I wouldn't sign off when
No,
my
I
hair was
do.
half dry.
Caption coming up.
I'm saying to you that it was nasty and malicious. And it wasn't until the two of you were hoochie-coochieing that all of a sudden we got negative reviews about a job they did 9 years before. That's ridiculous. It's mean-spirited.
A courthouse. the Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, John, Cynthia Frazee, Cynthia Booth, and Dwayne.
John and Cynthia Frazee claim John's former client, Cynthia Booth, and her fiancé, Dwayne Burnley, slandered their business. Dwayne is countersuing for filing a wrongful lawsuit.
Now, my next question to you is, after 2013, did you perform electrical work for Miss Booth in her house? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
Now I'm going to ask you, what was the nature?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I don't remember.
You mean, just a second, you remember the work that you did when Mr. Frazee was there in 2013, when you were with him, but you don't remember the nature of the work that you did for your girlfriend in 2018?
I'm pretty sure it was a panel upgrade.
Just a second. I want you to think. What kind of work did you do for Miss Booth in 2018?
It must have been the panel upgrade that I did at her house. I changed the 100 amp out to a 200.
Sure, look at me.
Because that would be.
Look at me.
I'm sorry.
So you changed the 100 amp. Shh. This is not my strong suit, and I have to tell you something. Of the 100 million people who are watching this, they're going out to get a cup of coffee right now. You changed the 100 amp that he had done in 2013 to a 200 amp. You upgraded it in 2018.
And put a surge protection system
And
in
a
her
surge
house.
protection.
Yeah, now I do recall.
Great. When was the first negative review that you can show me written about your company? Now we got what's going on. Now I have it
2019, Your
clear.
Honor.
Do you have it clear?
I think a little bit more fuzzy than you, but clear enough.
Do you have it clear?
I have it clear now.
You have it clear? Well, just to make it crystal clear, Mr. Frazee did work at Miss Booth's home in 2013. It was electrical work. It was electrical work performed by him with the help of Mr. Burnley, because in order to get a homeowner's policy on her new house, she had to upgrade to satisfy, according to you, only insurance.
Correct.
That's what you say, from 70 to 100 amps.
Yes.
Look, this whole little thing at my age, I'm learning. Now, evidently, they liked what they saw in 2013, and that materialized into a romance. Good for you. And in 2018, I assume he was living there?
No.
When did he move in?
November of.
Shh.
November
of last year.
Yes.
Okay. But you were dating in 2018?
Yes.
Yes. In 2018, Mr. Burnley, not with the help of the plaintiff, replaced and upgraded the 100 amp to 200 amp, which is much better because I know that I have 200. That's, you have to plug things in. It's 110, 220, right?
Yeah.
110, 220. And he put in a surge protector. Now, even I know what a surge protector is. Correct me if I'm mistaken. That means if there's an overload, a lightning strike, whatever it is, it protects it so the whole board doesn't fry and everything turns off, and then you have to replace all the wires go zzz. Am I right? Right. So he upgraded the system and touched of necessity what Mr. Frazee did in 2013. No question, had to do that. Now I'd like to see the negative reviews and when they started.
The first one we found was in 2019, Your Honor.
Well, are these in order? This was...
That's the most current one that was in February of 2022.
Did you write this? Frazee Electric, he was supposed to do a panel change and never put rods in and fried my electronics in my home and garage opener. Left such a mess and never cleans up.
That's correct.
Did you write that?
Yes, I did.
When? In what year?
It's about 3 years ago.
3 years ago, 2018.
Approximately.
About when he changed the electrical
Yes,
system. Just a second.
Okay.
About when he changed the electrical system. All right, then you wrote something. I will not even write this company 1 star due to the unprofessionalism in completion of work. Hired this electrician to do a 100-watt panel, never grounded, never finished, and left a mess. He's known for not cleaning up. Had to hire another electrical contractor that was most professional. Now, when did you write that review?
About the same time.
2018.
Yes, on a different review.
That was a different one. And you said that you had to hire another electrical contractor.
Yes, I
to
did.
finish the job. And who was that?
That was DMB Electric.
That was him?
Yes, I called
Just a second.
2 competitors.
Just a second. In what year did you call them?
Oh, this was
No, in what year did you call him?
2013.
After he left, you called them.
I called 2 other contractors.
Just a second. Did you end up using Mr. Burnley?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so back in 2013, you were dissatisfied with this company.
Yes.
Let me follow this. 2013, you were dissatisfied with the company. You called another company.
2 other.
Just a second. You called another company, but the county had signed off on your job.
Yes.
What you say in your answer is that they signed off erroneously on the job. Well,
yes.
I have to take at face value they're signing off that the job was completed. And I assume you got your homeowner's insurance.
Yes, I did.
After he left and after you had the county sign off.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
But they...
Now, just a second. Now, don't tell me a but.
No.
Now, 5 years later, because this was written in 2018.
Correct.
5 years later, you're now dating Mr. Burnley.
Correct.
Who's now living with you.
No.
Who had, well, you say you moved in 2021.
Oh, 21.
Yes.
I thought you
Yeah, who's now living
Yeah.
with you. You began dating in 2018.
That's correct.
And Mr. Burnley, who is now living with you, and in 2018, you woke up one morning and said, who now has his own electrical company, woke up and said, 5 years ago, Mr. Frazie's company and he did not do a professional job in my panel. And now we're dating. And now all these negative reviews come, not in 2013 when we, Sarah, you have Yelp and all those things in 2013?
I'm not sure if I can get back that far, but I could search.
And I wasn't aware of Yelp.
I don't care what you were aware of.
Okay.
You mean you woke up in 2019 and found out that you could give a star or a review? That's the first time you found that out? I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
Well, it's
I just
true.
want to tell you something. I don't believe you. I don't believe that when you want to go to a restaurant, Miss Booth, and it's a new restaurant, you don't take a look on your computer and say, I wonder how many stars it got. I wonder if there are any reviews on this resort.
Yes.
Well, then you were smart enough to do this.
My sons are in IT, so they
I want to
told-
tell you something. I don't believe you.
Okay.
Because I'm older than you are. And I know about this, and she can tell you I'm an idiot on the machine.
Well,
I
I'm
don't buy it. And I don't buy actually. Yeah, it is.
I can't see any
Your
of the
Honor,
reviews.
No.
But there are reviews on Yelp of his business that all are very positive.
I have them if you'd like to see them.
I will look
And
at
I
them.
have negative reviews that says the exact same thing what Cindy posted.
Just a second. You don't understand what I'm saying to you, Mr. Burnley. I'm saying to you that it was nasty and malicious, because if she was unhappy with the service, it would have been posted in 2013,
I did.
14, 15, 16, 17. And it wasn't until the two of you were hoochie-coochieing that all of a sudden we got negative reviews about a job they did 9 years before. That's ridiculous. It's mean-spirited.
Caption coming up.
All those positive reviews that you posted, did any of them have to do with people that you're sleeping with? That's a question.
No,
No,
of course not.
Of course not.
I'm not that
Okay.
kind of girl.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, John and Cynthia Frazee, Cynthia Booth, and Dwayne.
Electrician John Frazee has accused his former client, Cynthia Booth, of posting damaging reviews years after the job was completed.
It's mean-spirited.
That's not correct.
Just a
John.
sec. You say it's not correct.
Well, I'm
I'm
just
looking at the
saying-
timeline. I'm looking at an inspector's report.
Right.
Who is a disinterested party, who signed off on an electrical work. I'm listening to Mr. Burnley, who 5 years later did work that replaced his work from 100 amps to 200 amps with a surge protector, and all of a sudden, you start writing negative reviews about their company. That's the timeline. And if you want to try to fill me in and make me feel as if I made a mistake, I'll give you 30 seconds to do it.
Okay. Yes, we started seeing each other in 2014. And my sons are in IT administration, and they had told me, Mom, you don't know
Don't
about
tell me what
Yelp?"
your sons. Don't tell me what your sons
Okay,
told
I
you.
didn't know about Yelp or Google reviews
Back then.
and back at that time because I'm not computer savvy.
You want to know something? I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I'm almost 80 years old, a lot older than you are. And I know that if I want to look something up, which I do occasionally, I look something up and I say, did so-and-so eat at this fish restaurant? It's a new place, it's a new town. I'm going to go there and take a look at it. I know how to do that. And I'm an idiot, and I'm an idiot. And if you just found it out, if you just found out how to do it, then there was no reason for your first review to be about his company.
No.
About a job that was done.
91 other reviews I've posted.
Just a second. Positive or negative?
Positive.
Are you sleeping with any other electrician?
No, I'm not.
Just a second. That's the end. All those positive reviews that you posted, did any of them have to do with people that you're sleeping with? That's a question.
No,
No,
of course not.
Of course not.
I'm not that kind of girl.
What I'm telling you is the timeline doesn't make sense. These nasty reviews written about a job that started 9 years before, in this case, 6 years before, now that you are sleeping with a head of an electrical company, don't make sense. And my nose tells me if it doesn't make sense, it's not true. Now, when you came back a month later, what else did you do? Didn't clean up a mess. Just a second. Didn't clean up a mess.
Yes, I cleaned up the mess.
You cleaned up what mess?
My mess. He
your
doesn't
mess.
clean up his mess.
Well, you didn't. That's what she told you.
No, I have other reviews of other people on the internet that posted that.
I'm asking you a question. You didn't clean up his mess.
I didn't clean up his mess. I misunderstood you.
Okay, well, that's what I said.
sorry.
You didn't clean up his mess.
No, I cleaned up his mess.
And didn't write a review.
Well, I didn't know about Yelp.
I'm telling you, you can say it until the cows come home. I
not
don't
true, Your
believe
Honor.
you. I don't believe you. And I don't believe that the first year that you found out to write a review is when you and Mr. Burnley started a relationship. I just don't believe it.
No.
And I think it's mean-spirited. You have to know, Miss Booth, I think it's mean-spirited.
But we were seeing each other in 2014.
You were seeing each other in 2014.
Yes.
You have a company, sir?
Yes, I
Do you
do.
have a company?
Yes.
Are you licensed?
Yes.
What's the name of your company?
DMB Electric Inc.
Just would you take a look at that, Sarah?
It'll be under DMB Electric Services Inc.
And in what year was your company formed?
This
She's-
one, this
this-
one's 2013.
He had a prior
I had a prior one.
2013.
Yes, Your Honor.
Was that before or after you did her job with him? Before
The
or
license-
after?
I had the license before.
No, the company. I said, was the
Yes,
company
the company
formed?
was established.
Careful, because she's a whiz with the computer.
No,
that's good.
Was your company formed before?
Yes, Your Honor.
Before you did the job with him?
Yes.
Okay, in what month in 2013?
I don't know.
Are you
what date.
guessing?
Yeah, I'm going
Are
to
you
guess
guessing?
January. Yes.
Was it before or after you did the job with the plaintiff? If you don't know the answer, say, I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Okay, now.
The business was incorporated March 20th of 2013.
Does it have any reviews?
Only 4 from the past 2 years on Yelp, all positive.
By the way, did you ever write a review for him? Did you ever write a review for Mr. Burnley's company? Is not an answer. Did you ever write a review for Mr. Burnley's company? Stop shaking your head, Mr. Burnley. Did you ever write a review for Mr. Burnley's company?
No.
No.
Okay. I don't know what it is that you didn't understand. Sir, you didn't say much. You don't have to say much. I got what went on here, and I think it was mean-spirited, and you're suing for $10,000.
Yes, Your
I
Honor.
think that their reviews and the abuse of the critique of your business warrants the award of $10,000. You have a counterclaim. Which one of you has a counterclaim?
I do.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something. Your counterclaim's dismissed. I think that you were a co-conspirator in her writing these reviews.
Was not.
Counterclaim is dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. We're finished here. Thank you very much.
Your Honor.
This court
We're
is
done.
adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, John, then Dwayne.
During the COVID shutdown, when nobody had any work in a small community of 5,500 people, that's what they chose to do.
Hey, I'm glad it's behind me, man. That's all I can say.
He was just getting his license, and I helped him begin his business, and this is how he serves me.
Sarah and Judy.
I agree with the judgment, but why $10,000? That seemed a little high for me.
You can permanently hurt somebody's business, their livelihood, if you write a negative review. Because people more and more rely on the internet when they seek a service, rely on somebody else to say, I've had a good experience or I've had a bad experience. I believe, based upon the timeline that we heard, that the defendants wrote these reviews for a reason other than bad electrical work. Because if there was bad electrical work, that would have shown itself between 2013 and 2018 when her fiance redid the whole system.
Or it wouldn't have passed the inspection.
Or it wouldn't have passed the inspection. So that to me is malicious. I think you have to get a real wake-up call. And to me, $500 doesn't do it. It's malicious, and I don't think he has to show any real damages other than the reputation of his business has been sullied by someone for malicious reasons having nothing to do with work that was performed 9 years before. And I'm perfectly comfortable with that judgment.
Title: Judy Justice.
Have you been cheated? Go to judyjustice.tv.
Guys,
Have a seat, everyone.
Kevin.
hello, Judge. Case 2098, Shepard versus Velasquez.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Ms. Velasquez, I'm going to start with you because the case is unusual and the case really starts with you. You were driving your car.
Correct.
And had an accident on the 13th of February of this year.
Right.
Tell me about it.
I was going west on...
You were driving?
I was driving.
First, at what time did this take place on
It
February
happened
13th?
at about 1 a.m.
Where were you coming from?
From my sister's home.
Anybody else in the car with you?
No.
What day of the week was February 13th?
That was on a Saturday.
So you were at some sort of a gathering at your sister's house?
I was at my sister's house, yes.
How many people were at the gathering?
There was just about maybe 10 of us.
And what time had you arrived at your sister's house?
Saturday, mid-morning.
Did you have dinner there?
Yes.
Any alcohol served all day?
Yes.
What kind?
Just a beer.
I wasn't there.
A beer?
My
Beer?
invitation got lost in the mail. What were you drinking?
I drank 2 beers, but that, again, mind you, it was at the afternoon.
Just a second.
Yes.
So you had 2 beers.
Yes.
Now you get into the car, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and you're on your way home, and see what happened.
Okay.
Traveling from your sister's house, maybe I'll make this easier for you. How far a distance is it from your sister's house to your house?
About 20 minutes.
And how far into the trip did this accident occur?
Like 15 minutes.
And tell me about the accident.
Okay, so I seen like a dog or something in the street. So as soon as I seen it.
Just a second. So it's 1 o'clock in the morning, you see something in the street. That's what you said.
Okay, well, it was something, but it turned out to be a dog.
So what did you do?
I swerved to not hit the dog.
Swerved to not hit the something.
But it was a dog.
Well, we're going to get to how you know that. So you swerved to avoid hitting the something, and you went into a house, went over a fire hydrant.
The fire hydrant, actually, when I hit the fire hydrant has pushed me into the house.
Fire hydrant, water, and you went into the house. The force of the fire hydrant didn't send you into the house, madam, unless you're telling me that the fire hydrant went and the water was such force that it pushed your car into the house, which I won't believe. Do you understand? So you swerved to avoid something in the road and were clearly going at such a speed that you went right into a house. Did you go through the wall of the house? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
And that's what this case is about, because Miss Shepard is a renter in that house. And she says that everything of value that she had was destroyed because of the water and inundation. And your automobile insurance company paid the owner of the house for the damage to the house, but did not compensate Miss Shepard for any of her property that was destroyed. That's what the case is about.
Correct.
So now this dog becomes sort of interesting. You have a dog?
I do.
Now, you say that you swerved to avoid something that you subsequently said was a dog. Now you're in the house, because that's where the car is. I assume that they had to get you out of the car. Or did you get out of the car on your own?
Yeah, my car was not in the house, but I was out of the car. I got out by myself.
Do you have photographs of the house?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at them.
Whitney hands photos to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
Oh, that's pretty much in the house.
Yeah, she went through 2 walls.
Yeah. Do you know how much money your insurance company paid out to the homeowner?
$5,000.
$5,000. Is this your car?
Yes.
And this is where it landed?
Yes.
Okay, now, you got out of the car, And what did you do?
I got out of the car. My sister, she was there too.
What do you mean your sister was there too?
She was following right behind me because she's the one who she had seen the dog that I swerved to hit. She's seen the dog as well.
I'm talking to you. You got out of the car and?
I went to walk to get my sister.
And?
And we waited for the ambulance to get there.
For whom?
For me.
What was wrong with you?
I had 3 broken ribs.
Where did you wait for the ambulance?
Right in front of the house.
Now tell me about the dog.
The dog, the car came to a stop, I seen the dog run back into the yard.
Yeah. So you're crashing into the front of the house. Your eyes are in front of you. You're crashing into a house. You take down the whole wall when you crashed into the house. And what you're telling me is you crashed into the house, and out of what kind of vision? You went through a wall. How did your eyes get to the backyard? You swerve. You go into, either you swerve because there's something in the road, or you swerve because you weren't paying attention, or you swerve because the beers that you had were too late in the day, whatever the reason that you swerved. But now you're facing the inside of a house. I want to know at what point you saw a dog run to the backyard.
Well, the car wasn't, I didn't hit head on. It was on the side. It was on the left side, the right side. It was on the right side. So when I hit it, everything went to the right side. I didn't hit it straight on, head forward.
This is your car.
But I did not hit it straight
This is
head
your
on.
car. So you're telling me your car was damaged before?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I'd like you to tell me, Miss Shepard, I'm sure you have a list of things that were destroyed. You did not have renter's insurance.
I did not.
And what happened when you submitted a claim to Miss Velasquez's insurance company?
Absolutely nothing. They never even got back to me on it.
Okay, I'd like to see proof that your insurance company paid the owner of the house.
I don't have that on me.
You have your insurance card here?
Yes.
Good, I'd like to see it.
Rachel produces a document, then hands it to Kevin. He brings it to Judy, who reviews it.
Did you make a claim?
I did. I did the day on February 14th.
Who owns this car?
I do.
What kind of car were you driving?
It's a 2017 Honda Accord.
Did they pay to have your car fixed?
No.
Did they cover it at all? You had a $500 deductible for collision. Did they pay for your car?
No.
You have medical records?
No, I didn't bring them.
Did the police respond to the location?
Yes.
Were you given a blood alcohol test or a breathalyzer test at the scene?
No.
Do you have a police report?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Whitney hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Okay, arrived at the scene at 2:30 in the morning. This was determined to be a solo vehicle crash with minor injuries involving an impaired driver. That impaired driver would be you, because she wasn't driving her house. Now, Ms. Velasquez, not good form when the police reports. Do you see the police report? Have you seen the police report?
Yes.
Okay, so you know the police report found that you were impaired at the time of the accident. It also indicates that the police officer immediately after the accident questioned you on a gurney in the hospital. And that was immediately after this happened. I'm going to read what it says. Party 1, Velasquez, was riding her Honda at 55 miles per hour while under the influence. It says at the time of your statement, Party 1, that's you, states she attempted to turn left because she was heading to her mother's house, but did not recall how she crashed. Certainly don't see anything about a dog here, only an impaired driver. Okay, and then later you told this police officer that you admitted drinking 3 beers early at her home. Police officer said he asked you whether you felt the effects of alcohol drinks, to which you replied yes. The officer conducted a limited number of field sobriety tests at the hospital, which Party 1 failed to perform. Party 1's objective signs and symptoms of intoxication, and you were placed under arrest.
No, ma'am.
Yeah, I placed Party 1, that's you, under arrest for DUI.
Caption, coming up.
This police officer determined that you were drunk, and this police report has absolutely nothing about a dog causing the accident. It has you saying, I don't know what caused the accident. Guess.
And later today.
I don't understand what the issue is. She paid for the tickets. You did not, but you used the vouchers.
I did.
Well, then she's entitled to be compensated for what she paid. I mean, I don't know. This is not rocket science. Am I missing something here?
Sarah shakes her head. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Whitney and Rachel.
Whitney Shepard claims motorist Rachel Velasquez owes for property and water damage after Rachel's car ran over a fire hydrant and crashed into Whitney's home.
Something just came through my house. My house exploded. I'm stuck in here. I don't know what's going on. There is a car in my house. Oh my God. They hit the fire hydrant. They went through my house. I no longer have a house.
Okay. Did you receive a citation?
No, I did not.
You didn't?
No, ma'am.
Really?
No.
Well, then you want me to assume that when the police officer said that he placed you under arrest, and I can understand why they didn't remove you from the hospital, that you were subsequently given a citation, but you had to receive some sort of citation from the police, madam, unless you have medical records which indicate that the blood that they drew indicated that there was no alcohol in your system, because this police officer determined that you were drunk. And this police report has absolutely nothing about a dog causing the accident. It has you saying, I don't know what caused the accident. Yes. Okay. Ms. Shepard.
Yes.
The defendant is responsible for the damages done to your property. And so I've seen the extent of this damage done to the house. Were you able to stay in the house subsequent to this crash?
No.
Where did you go?
I got relocated to Corona. I'm renting a room in Corona.
And had you been renting the whole house?
Yes. Yes.
For how long?
10 years.
And what was your rent on the house?
$7.15 a month.
And in the 10 years that you lived there, you accumulated all your stuff?
Well, that and time before I lived there, but yes.
But for 10 years?
For 10 years,
Were you
yes.
able to take any of your furniture?
I got 3 pieces of furniture, which included my mattress.
That was okay?
It was okay.
Okay.
And I got an armoire that is ruined at the bottom from the water, and a dresser that was ruined from the water.
The rest of the furniture in the house, did it belong to you?
It did.
Okay. So you had a table, chairs, eating?
Table and chairs, no couch. It was a small house, 457 square feet.
What about your clothes?
I have not seen my clothes since the day the accident happened.
Did the water infiltrate the house as a result of the fire hydrant?
Yes. I was trapped in that house for 4.5 hours. Me and my dog were trapped in the house for 4.5 hours. My dog was in bed with me, sleeping.
When you left to rent this room, did you take anything with you?
Well, the night the accident happened, when I was trapped for 4.5 hours, I was hiding because the fire hydrant was throwing big rocks onto the roof, and I thought the whole house was coming down. But I kept coming out and filling a backpack with things my grandchildren had given me and pictures of my grandchildren. I didn't even think to take clothes or anything out.
And you went right there to some place where you were relocated? Or did you
Yeah,
go to
I was
a relative's?
relocated immediately. It was red tagged, and it took 68 days to get a yellow tag so I could hire a company.
Do you know how much the landlord got for the damage on this house?
She had insurance, and she's rebuilding right now.
So she had her own insurance?
She had her own insurance, yeah.
Okay. Ms. Velasquez, there's no question in my mind that your mind is fresher at the time of the incident than it is months and months later, when you've had a chance to reflect on why an accident is not your fault. You were questioned by police officers immediately after the incident. You responded, actually, to the police officers and told them what happened and told them that you crashed and you didn't know why. The police officers observed your demeanor. They determined that you were operating a vehicle under the influence of alcohol. I don't know whether you have insurance or not. I don't know whether you had insurance on the date of the incident or not. But by your careless and reckless behavior, you've turned this lady's life upside down. She had a little life in a little house where she had all of her property, and you've turned her life totally upside down. She has nothing. And you're responsible for that. So if you had no insurance, or if the insurance disclaimed, that would be your problem. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $10,000. We're finished.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Whitney, then Rachel.
I think it was the correct decision, as it really could be the only decision.
I remember seeing the dog going through, but yeah, it was an accident.
I thought my house exploded, and I was in a house that was going to come down with my dog.
Luckily, I didn't hurt anybody.
I think anybody who would drink and drive isn't willing to take responsibility for their actions.
Judy and Sarah.
You know, sometimes you're the windshield and sometimes you're a bug. Sometimes you're both.
As in this case.
That's really a trick. I have no idea what that insurance is.
A lot of fine print, I'm feeling, was probably the issue.
Yeah, but I cannot imagine if it was legitimate insurance, and she had legitimate insurance, except that she's got a $10,000 maximum on any sort of collision. So I don't know what it is. I actually feel sorry for that lady, don't you?
Me too. Everything in 500 square feet in a home that she's built.
And she's comfortable. She was comfortable in that.
No, exactly.
She has nothing. And I didn't see a whole bunch of remorse there.
Nope, me neither.
Case number 2033, Broussard Ferrero versus Stigley. All parties, please step forward.
Tammy Broussard and Catherine Fierro are suing 21-year-old Alicia Stigney for travel vouchers and harassment.
Whose son was it who was living with the defendant?
My son.
Broad strokes, what I get from this. Is that your son?
Yes, ma'am.
Your son became involved, according to you, with the defendant. She has one child with your son and one child with someone else.
Yes, ma'am.
What I gather, there was a time that everybody was happy living together, and I believe it was your brother who was getting married in Las Vegas.
Yes, ma'am.
And the defendant at that time was put in charge of ordering the plane tickets for everyone to go. But the defendant was told to use someone else's credit card. And who was that?
That's Catherine Fierro's.
That was Miss Fierro.
Yes.
Miss Fierro is whom?
I am the fiancée to her brother.
In any event, the wedding did not come off as planned in Las Vegas. Parties did not use the flight tickets that you had booked with someone else's credit card.
Correct.
And you were given travel vouchers, and that's what they're suing for. They want their travel vouchers. That's it. So I just have a few questions. It's not a very difficult case. When you booked the flights for everyone, how many tickets did you book?
It was myself, my 4-year-old. The infant was a lap, so she would not count.
And your boyfriend?
At the time, yes. Rory.
Yes.
And then it was also Tammy Broussard, her daughter, and that was all.
Whose credit card did you pay for those tickets with?
It was Kat's.
That's you?
Yes.
And did you pay for those tickets?
They were put on my credit card. Yes, they were, Your Honor.
Did you, in fact, pay for them, is my question.
Yes.
I'd like to see proof that you paid for their flights. And if you have the following month's bill as well, did you ever receive a credit for those flights?
No, I did not.
On
I wasn't
your
aware
credit-
what happened until I asked the son, the airline, to send me this.
I'd like to see it.
There you go.
Because it's still on your credit card.
Yes.
Judy reviews the document.
Okay, so you received vouchers, according to this, that totaled little over $1,000.
Yes.
What did you do with them?
I did use them.
Just a second. You didn't pay for the tickets.
Correct.
So my question is, why didn't you turn the vouchers over to the people who actually paid for the tickets?
Caption coming up.
You booked the tickets but didn't pay for them. Wedding got canceled because of COVID. You got vouchers for what she paid for and you used them without any agreement. What is the issue here? Am I missing something?
Sarah shakes her head. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Tammy, Catherine, and Alicia.
Tammy Broussard and Catherine Fierro claim 21-year-old Alicia Stigney owes for travel vouchers and harassment.
Now, did you discuss the vouchers with her?
I did not meet her until, I believe, early February when we left Las Vegas to go to Minnesota. And shortly after meeting her the day that we got there, she called my fiance, asked if we could watch the baby.
No.
But we did have a discussion about it, a slight one.
Only a discussion with you. I don't want to hear about any conversation.
Well, I did bring it up.
Well,
to her.
I'd like you to tell me what the discussion was.
When we came to watch her baby for the first time, she went to show me the baby's room where the diapers were, where the wipes are, and she was running around looking for wipes, and I said, I don't want to seem rude, but you do have the vouchers, correct, for the wedding. They were specifically meant for my wedding. And she said she didn't really have time to talk about it, that she was going out for the weekend to Rochester to go out and have fun with her. So she just left very quickly. Then we watched the baby a second time, and I decided to leave a little bit early to get to the house to watch the baby. And when we arrived, she was out the door. So she did not want to talk about
that's sort of speculation.
Yes.
I don't understand what the issue is. She paid for the tickets. You did not, but you used the vouchers.
I did.
Well, then she's entitled to be compensated for what she paid.
Your Honor, she also posted on Facebook trying to sell the tickets.
Well, I mean, I don't know. This is not rocket science. Am I missing something here? You booked the tickets but didn't pay for them. Wedding got canceled because of COVID. You got vouchers for what she paid for and you used them without any agreement. What is the issue here? Am I missing something?
I don't think so.
Would you tell me?
Yes. So back last year, I have the agreement. It was sometime, I think June or July. Tammy moved to Minnesota or to Austin.
Don't go off on a listen to me.
Her apartment is in my name because she couldn't put it in her name.
Okay, and?
So they said, because later in February, Kat had now moved into Tammy's apartment with Tammy that is in my name.
Okay.
So they, as a thank you, they had said that they did not want the vouchers back, that I could use them. They also said that they would not able to use them before they expired in October of this year.
That is not true, Your Honor.
What do you mean they said? Those are two people.
Yes, Tammy and Kat. I had ran into Kat at Walmart sometime late March, I think it was, after me and the Romaine had broke up.
Whatever his name is, Romaine. Romaine and I broke up.
Yes.
I'm still trying to figure out why you didn't give her the vouchers when you got them.
We were still together, me and Romaine. We were planning on taking a trip this year.
What difference does it make? Were you supposed to pay for the tickets to Vegas?
No.
Was that your agreement, that somebody else was going to pay for them?
They agreed that they'd pay for them, yes.
Is that right?
To come to the wedding, not to go anywhere else, just
to come to the wedding, but the wedding was canceled.
Yes.
Correct.
And we did not speak at Walmart about anything about those.
What I have here are two charges, one for $320 and one for $538. Is that what you spent on the tickets?
Yes.
And ma'am, I have something from June 18th on Facebook where she was trying to sell them on Facebook. And I had... I
actually, Ms. Brisson, don't understand why you're here.
I'm here because there's also a harassment. We have a police report regarding that.
Okay.
As well
okay, so with regard to your claim, she owes you $858 for the tickets.
Yes.
So that judgment is taken care of. You can have a seat.
Thank you.
The other part of the claim is for harassment. Do you want to tell me when this harassment started? I assume it was after your son and the defendant terminated their relationship. And if you indicated that you had a police report, I'd like to look at it.
Yes, ma'am. Here is the police report. And actually, the harassment had started.
Just 1 second.
Judy reviews the document.
As far as this police report you gave me, the only thing that's complained about here, really from your end initially, was the fact that your son's tax money was put in her bank account by mistake.
It was something entirely different because he doesn't have the evidence that he needs with that.
I don't care. I'm just telling you what the document is that you handed me as evidence of harassment. And the document that you handed me as evidence of harassment, the focal point of it is last week his tax return got deposited. Alicia withdrew all the money from the account, and this included $1,500 from the tax return and $1,000 that was in the account. That was the crux of your complaint against her. Well, that's not harassment.
Well, the harassment had started on April 27th, which is like a month after those two had broken up. It was a really nasty thing. I don't know, like it says in there, I don't know if it's coincidental, but she sped through a yellow light, almost hit me once. Her boyfriend had been a total nuisance in my parking lot, blowing the horn.
Listen to me very carefully. If you feel as if you are the subject of harassment, file for a protective order. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. The defendant owes your co-plaintiff $858. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Alicia.
I was very nice to them, and they just disregarded all of that.
She's very upset because my son no longer dates her.
There was drugs involved where she couldn't get her apartment of her own.
I pay my own rent, I pay my own bills. I just have bad credit, and it's not even a drug-related thing.
I was nice and put their apartment in my name, and that didn't matter to them.
She's a thief. I mean, those tickets were meant for my wedding, and she used them for something else. It doesn't matter if you're nice or not. you give it back.
Judy and Sarah.
I wish they were all that simple.
Yeah, I mean, from reading the papers, I could tell there was some more conflict than I think we got into. But none of that underlying conflict between any of the parties had anything to do with the facts of the case. That she used someone else's credit card, she received a benefit that she did not pay for, and they were entitled to it.
Easy.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, easy.
Are you a victim of a scam? Go to judyjustice.tv. Clun for a semi-automatic rifle.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge. Case 2055, Lukoski versus Clun.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Lukoski, am I correct that you own or manage a shooting range?
Yes, it's a target range. It's on my own property that I own in northern Minnesota.
And it's licensed to do commercial target shooting?
Not necessarily. What I do is...
What is not necessarily? What does that mean?
Well, for 19 years, I have been a firearms instructor for the permits to carry for the sheriff's department in my county. Okay. So I don't believe that the training is good enough that the people are getting to be able to carry handguns on the street. So I give them a free additional training session at my range.
You also sell guns?
I do not sell guns, no.
How do you make money, is my question.
So I give money by charging people for the class.
Well, that's what I'm talking. You charge people
yes.
to use, and you don't need a license to run that sort of operation in your county.
No, you have to be a registered NRA instructor, which is also, you know,
Are you?
Yes, I am, ma'am.
For how long?
Oh, I've been doing this for 19 years.
The case is really not very complicated, but let me see if I can break it down to its most basic elements. There was a gentleman who regularly came to your range.
Yes.
And his first name was?
Jim.
How long had he been coming to your range?
A couple of years at least.
And then, according to what you indicate in your complaint, and Mr. Clun doesn't deny it, he got sick. And according to you, the nature of his illness, you felt prevented him from using a heavier weapon.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you loaned to him, because of his illness, a rifle.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of rifle did you
It
loan?
was a sporting rifle. It was very lightweight.
What kind?
It was called a PS-90. That was the model.
PS?
PS as in Sam, 90.
Would you take a look at that, Sarah, please?
I have a picture of it, Your Honor, if you'd like to see one.
I would.
It's very unusual.
Alan produces a photo, then hands it to Kevin.
Thank you.
Kevin brings the photo to Judy, who reviews it. The image depicts a small rifle.
Okay.
I see it. Thank you.
And on approximately what month and year did you loan Jim this gun?
Well...
Well is not an answer, so let's think carefully, because we know we're coming
probably
forward
a month approximately before he died, which was
I don't know when
September.
that was.
September 8th, I believe he passed away in 2021.
How did you find out that he passed away?
I believe Mary here, who's here because of the fact that she caregave for him while he was going through cancer treatments. She was his reason for staying alive. And she also did witness some things that happened in this case.
Okay, I'll get to you in a second. So he passed away on November 8th.
He died on September 9th.
9th?
Yeah.
Okay.
And okay.
Prior to his passing away, Jim and Mr. Clun had some business deal. And Mr. Clun believed that Jim owed him money. So far, right?
Correct.
And after Jim died, Mr. Clun went to Jim's home and took several things from the home to satisfy that debt.
No, I did not do that, Your Honor. I never came back to the house. I never took anything. Everything I received prior to his death.
Okay. Tell me when you received the gun that belonged to Mr. Lukoski.
Looks like 5/20/21.
Can I see what you have that indicates that you received the gun in May? Because you gave it to him about a month before he died?
Approximately a month.
Well.
Could have been a little longer.
It had to be longer.
Okay.
I picked it up the 5th month.
In May?
Yes.
Okay, and you couldn't have given it to him in August?
Yeah, you're right.
It had to be before then?
Okay.
And tell me the circumstances, because that's what this case is about. Mr. Lukoski claims that it was his gun. It was a loan. You had no right because you took it. You got it, evidently, you want to tell me, from Jim, and then subsequently sold it.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I want you to tell me the circumstances surrounding your getting possession of this gun in May of 2021.
Jim was in need of money, so I loaned him money, and in trade for the money as collateral, he said he would.
Okay. And I'm going to let you tell me this because Jim's not here, so I'm going to have to get more specifics from people who were his caregivers to buttress what you're saying to me. He needed some money. How did you know him?
Best friends from high school.
And you remained friends?
Yes.
How did you find out that Jim needed money?
Jim called me up, and he was getting scammed, but he wanted the money, and he told me
he was getting scammed by whom?
I don't know who it was, but anyway, I would give him $2,500. He would go to the post office and mail it somewhere. But every time he did that, I would receive collateral of motorcycles or guns.
Just a second. I want you to run this by me. Jim called you and said, I'm being scammed?
No. I think he's being scammed.
I don't care what you think.
Okay.
What you think is unimportant to me. I want you to tell me the circumstances surrounding the money that you gave to him. He called you and said...
He needed to borrow money. I borrowed him the money.
No. I need to borrow money. Had you ever loaned him money before?
Yes.
Often?
No. In the last year of his life, I did probably a half a dozen times.
Just in the last year. So when he called you and said, I need to borrow some money, the reaction, even from a best friend, would be, of course, if you need money, tell me why. Right? That's a natural question. And so that's what you asked him. Tell me why.
And I asked him that question, and he said he was going to be receiving $1 million or $2 million in the next few months.
Okay.
Alan shakes his head. Caption, coming up.
So you brought Mr. Lukoski's gun back to Jim while he was alive?
No, I sold the gun.
Keep going. So you sold...
This specific...
Just tell the truth. You don't have to have a good memory.
Sarah's eyes widen. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Alan and Jean.
Alan Lukoski claims business owner Jean Klun owes for a semi-automatic rifle.
So did you ask him how?
I asked him how, and he said he had it all planned with this guy he was sending the money to.
That's all he told you about it? Or did he go into specifics? He did. It had to sound interesting to you, Mr. Klun, because if my best friend called me and said, I need to borrow some money, and I said, tell me why. And she said, because I'm going to come into $1 million shortly, but I need to borrow money to get it to this guy before I get the $1 million. I would say, explain that to me.
And I did. And he said...
And he said...
He said that he would be receiving money in the next month or 2 months.
Mr. Klun, then you would say, how does that, and can I get in on it? You know, if I'm sending you $2,500, which is what you said you gave him, I would say, oh, gee, $2,500, that's a reasonable investment, and I'm going to get a return on my money of $1 million shortly. I would say, is there any piece of that for me?
I didn't question him. He just wanted the money, and he said in return for the money, he would give me the motorcycles and guns as collateral.
Okay. May I please see the written agreement that you had?
Verbal.
So other than you and Jim, nobody knew about this agreement?
Not that I'm aware of.
Now, when was the first time you gave him money?
Looks like May.
May?
Of 2021.
Okay. And when was the last time you gave him money?
7/6/21.
Between May of 2021 and the beginning of July, how many times did you give him money?
4 times.
And you have that documented with bank records, et cetera?
Right here, Your Honor.
Okay, great. And tell me how much in total you gave him.
$7,500.
Kevin, would you bring me the documents that Mr. Klun is looking at, please? So in total, you gave him $7,500. And in return, according to you, you took possession of how many motorcycles?
3 motorcycles.
And they belonged to Jim?
And he signed over the titles and everything to me.
Well, they were collateral.
Right. But he signed over everything and gave me the titles for everything.
I see the titles to the motorcycles.
They're sold, ma'am.
Interesting.
As well as the rifles that I got also.
I'm just asking you, do you have the sales receipts from the 3 motorcycles? There were 3? Did you say 3?
Yeah.
Do you have the sales receipts from the 3 motorcycles that you say you sold?
No, but I was paid $5,000 in cash for the 3
How am I supposed to know that, sir?
Okay,
You sold
well,
3
anyway,
motorcycles.
Okay.
How am I supposed to know? I mean, all of this is coming out of nowhere, actually, with no proof whatsoever, unless you're prepared to give me some flesh on this bone of a case. Could you stand up? Your first name is Mary?
Yes, it is.
What's your last name?
Wellman?
Were you Jim's caregiver?
Yes, I lived in the upstairs of his house.
Were you a tenant?
We were friends since the late 90s when I first moved to the area.
So regular caregiver of his, or were you just as needed?
He developed cancer in the late 90s, and I stayed, then I lived with him in the first 2 years because of the 50-50 survival rate and the constant trips to the Mayo Clinic from where we lived were an entire day trip. And then after about 3 years, when he was kind of back on his feet again, I moved out, but we remained friends and we rode motorcycles together and we did lots together. And
So you lived in the house?
Yeah, and I moved back in okay.
Okay. Were you living in the house when he bought these 3 motorcycles?
2 of them I was. A dual sport that he had changed or upgraded to ride a little bit more rough terrain, possibly into Canada.
Okay, just to...
yeah.
That's
why
that much flesh on the bones I don't need.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Did he buy them new or used?
He had bought them used.
In approximately what year?
Well, would have been during the cancer, and so it approximately 2000 to 2003.
Do you know anything else about his dealings with Mr. Klun?
I do know the motorcycles were in the garage when Jim died.
No, they weren't.
Don't.
Okay.
Don't speak. How do you know that?
Well, I had on and off go out there for things, but then Jim's nephew had come and removed one of the bikes right after Jim had passed away.
So the nephew came and removed one?
Mm-hmm.
But this was after he passed?
Yes.
What's the nephew's first name?
Anthony.
Do you know Anthony, Mr. Klun?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Did you get the motorcycle from Anthony?
Nope, I got the motorcycles from Jim, the motorcycles that were left after Jim passed away.
Okay. Now you can sit down.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Klun. Do you have any statements, text messages, or anything else indicating that Jim indicated to you that he could give you as collateral this rifle, other than the fact that he had it in his possession?
I got more than 1 rifle. I have checks that were written out to Jim, and that's what we did.
But that doesn't answer my question, Mr. Klun. I don't care how many rifles you had. He only had 1 that he gave to Jim because it was lighter and easier to shoot. And as his illness progressed, if I'm getting this right, it was hard for him to pick up his own rifle. Now, he may have had more, probably did have more, because you took more than 1, right?
Correct.
Okay. How many rifles did you take?
I took 3 rifles, 5 pistols. I had to bring 3 of the rifles back.
Where?
To Jim to get replacements. The guns that were from Mr. Lukoski.
Only 1?
3 of them.
No, he said he only gave him 1.
Oh, no, but there was 3 of them.
So you brought Mr. Lukoski's gun back to Jim while he was alive?
No, I sold the gun.
Keep going. You sold...
This specific...
Just tell the truth. You don't have to have a good memory.
Sarah's eyes widen. Caption coming up.
If, heaven forbid, something happened to me and my dentist thought that I owed him $25,000, he couldn't come into my house and say, gee, this Ming vase is just going to cover my dental bill. You can't do that. And that's what you did.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Alan and Jean.
Alan Lukoski is accusing business owner Gene Klun of selling his semi-automatic rifle without permission.
Keep going. So you sold it. You didn't take it back to him to get a replacement.
No,
to Jim.
You misunderstood. The gun that Mr. Lukoski had, I kept that one.
The one that belongs to Mr. Lukoski, you sold it.
Correct, because
So just a second. Sold it to whom?
The gun dealer in Virginia, Minnesota.
Great. And for that, you have a receipt.
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
I left it at home.
Oh,
Your Honor, I have it.
Mr. Clun.
Oh,
Mr.
he has
Clun,
it right
let,
there.
let Mr. Clun, he doesn't have to prove anything to me. I believe that you resorted to self-help to claim a debt. If it's true, and you did in fact give him money, I actually don't believe that a guy like you would give him all this money without trying to find out what the scam was, or at least tell him, Jim, it sounds to me like you're being scammed. Somebody in Transylvania sent you an email that said a long-distant relative of yours died and left you $1 million. I need $2,500 in order to clear the paperwork to send you $1 million. And I will keep a little piece for myself for finding you. You know how many of those everybody gets? I don't know why people still believe that, but you evidently believed that story 4 times. And not once did you say your friend who was dying of cancer, Jim, this is ridiculous. What you're doing is just throwing good money after bad. I don't understand why you didn't say that to him, or if you did, you would not have said to him, unless you had something to gain, which clearly you did. You sold the motorcycles. You don't have any proof of what you sold them for. You expect me to take your word for the fact that you sold them for $5,000 in cash without proof. He owed you, if I were to believe you and these checks, $7,500. You sold the motorcycles, you sold guns, but unfortunately, one of the things that you sold belonged to the plaintiff. And when somebody dies, there is an estate. There's a judge who decides what property there is. You know, if heaven forbid something happened to me and my dentist thought that I owed him $25,000, he couldn't come into my house and say, gee, I like this Ming vase. This Ming vase is just going to cover my dental bill. You can't do that. And that's what you did. You sold property. You may have had a claim against his estate if he, in fact, owed you money, and if the estate went to probate. I don't know. Did he own a house?
Yes.
Yes. Did he have children?
No, he left the house to me.
Okay. So he had an estate. Clearly, there's money in the estate because he left a house that has some value to someone else. So you cannot, Mr. Clun, resort to self-help. And Mr. Lukoski is going to show me the value of the gun that his...
Yes. May I expound just a bit on this gun?
I don't care about
the manufacturer.
I don't care about the gun. I don't care if it's a crown in my mouth. What's the value of the gun?
The value of the gun at the time that this man took possession of it.
Just give me an answer.
It was $3,000. It's gained in value.
Okay, well, who cares if it's gained in value, sir? I'd like you to show me where the gun is valued at $3,000. Did you look it up?
I did. I have it. It's listed from the same photo. I found the website listed for $2,500.
Okay. My law clerk found an ad online. Now you're going to show me what you want to show me, that the value is $3,000. Let me see it, please.
May I say something else about this gun?
Not until I look at this. I don't know what this is. Immediate checkout credit card. What is this?
Look at the very top, please.
I see what this is. I want to see what you paid for. This is something that's on sale, starting bid.
It's just a typical price of what they sell for on Gunbroker.
Okay. $2,500?
Yes.
Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Mary and Alan, then Jean.
I'm pleased at the outcome because the information needed to be exposed that there was something terribly wrong.
Somebody waits for 10 months and finds out his gun is missing.
To many different people, and no one had the same answer from him at any time.
Something's wrong.
I don't think he had a choice. There was the only way he was going to win his case because everything's based on mistruth.
Sarah and Judy.
I could not get my mind around the defendant to have a friend since high school that you're best friends with, you remained good friends with. If one of my best friends came to me and told me, hi, I just need to borrow $2,500, I'm going to be a millionaire 2 months from now, I'd say, are you crazy? There's so many of these scams going around. I know I've seen your phone sometimes gets tripped up with the scammers and in the middle of the night ringing off the hook. It's unfortunate that people fall for these scams and really send their hard-earned money, sometimes that they don't have, to these scam artists, and they're never going to see it again. And I think that people have to be really vigilant. I know there's been warnings and things like that I've seen more publicized recently about scams and just how detailed and intricate they can seem, but it's really just...
I get them all the time, as you said.
Yeah.
I have to go like this and then delete.
Delete.
Anton, please answer immediately. Your $3,000 refund is sitting here waiting for you.
Non-existent.
No, sometimes they leave out Anton. Your $3,000 refund is here.
Yeah, gotta be smart.
And, you know, Sarah, a couple of years ago, I don't know whether you remember, but I just thought about it. People were calling me and saying to me, Judy, I didn't know that you went into the cosmetics business.
Oh, yes, I do remember.
And the people who crafted the advertisement, you know, with all kinds of real logos on the top
reviews
of it.
and
Reviews, and I tried this stuff. And I remember being at the gym working out, and a woman came over to me and said, you know, I bought your cosmetics, and they were really terrible. And they keep sending them to me every month.
And probably charging her credit card.
Charging her credit card. And I tried every vehicle in the government to try to get somebody to
shut it down.
Track it down. And the answer was, they're so smart that they use international, you don't know where they could be. They could be in Peru, they could be in Chile, they could be in Brazil, they can be in Canada. And I know that there are many other celebrities who were caught with the same scam net. But this guy said, my friend Jim
was probably getting scammed. Then why would you provide him the money to get scammed?
You're absolutely right. Didn't believe me. No. You're right.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to Ernie and Sonia Gallego for a refund on custom T-shirts.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin.
Case 2014, Koala Ehlers versus Gallegos.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Your last name is Ehlers?
Ehlers.
Ehlers.
Yes.
You have a son.
I do.
And he plays a sport.
He does.
What kind of a sport does he play?
He is in asphalt racing.
Is he on a team?
We have our own team. It's called Lionheart Racing.
And how many people are on the team?
He is the sole driver, but we have a pit crew of approximately 8.
And he doesn't wear a uniform. When he
wears
drives.
a race suit, yes.
He wears a race suit.
Correct.
So the T-shirts that you ordered from the defendant were for the 8 and crew.
It was to sell. My son has a congenital heart defect, and he was treated when he was very young at Chalk Hospital. So we sell shirts to donate the proceeds to Chalk Hospital.
To whom?
We sell shirts to fans, to the pit crew, to family, friends.
Well, pit crew is only 8 people. I assume you give them a shirt.
We do.
Yeah, of course. So the other ones you sell, if you could sell. How many years have you been selling these shirts?
2 years.
And last year, who made the T-shirts for you?
A place called Rush Order Tees.
Would you look that up, please?
Sure. It's an online T-shirt ordering.
And when they came last year, how many did you order?
We ordered 200 last year.
How many did you sell?
We sold all of them.
And how much were they? A piece?
They were $25 a piece.
To make?
To make 13, I believe.
So you were able to give a lot of money that year to your favorite charity.
Correct.
Why didn't you go back to Rush Order Tees this year?
Sonia, the defendant.
No, I'm asking you, were satisfied with your product?
I was. And I was actually in the process of getting ready to place a new order when I received a call at my office asking if I would be interested in placing an order with their company that was a local company.
And who did you get that call from?
Sonia.
That's you?
Yes.
How did you get the plaintiff's number?
I was making calls to local businesses listed as members of the Placentia City Chamber of Commerce. Her place of business, Impact Properties, came up as a member, and I made a call, and she was the one that answered the phone.
And what did you say to her?
I introduced myself, and I let her know that we are a screen printing business here in Placentia, and I was reaching out to local businesses to see if they would be interested in ordering custom T-shirts, and if not, at least to let them know that we offer those services for future reference.
How much did you quote her per T-shirt?
So she ordered a few different garments.
Just tell me what you quoted her.
$14 per T-shirt.
That's $1 more than you had paid last year.
Correct.
Had you gotten a quote from Rush Order for this year?
Not yet.
Well, that would cut into your profit by about $200.
Except that I didn't have to pay shipping.
Rush Order isn't a large online reputable business for screen printing, bags, cups, shirts, things like that.
And you were happy with them last year?
Yes.
On what date did you place an order with the defendant's company for these T-shirts?
March 30th.
Do you have a written agreement?
I do.
May I see it, please?
I would like to note that the $14 quote was for 90 T-shirts, not 200. So that does.
I just want to see what the contract says. Okay. Yes, $14 was for 90. That was for short sleeved. Long sleeve printed was $16 plus tax. There's a setup fee, redraw artwork, extra large sizes. Well, this is not a signed agreement. However, the last sentence reads, by submitting your payment, You agree to these terms and conditions. You're verifying that all the information on the invoice is correct. You submitted payment.
I do have proof of payment, yes.
They don't dispute that you actually paid them because you had to pay them in advance.
Correct.
Okay, so this is a clear contract. And it's your claim that you were dissatisfied with the artwork, you had paid already, you want a refund, you did not use their T-shirts.
Correct.
And I believe you actually canceled or tried to reverse the credit card that you had used.
I tried to get a refund through PayPal, correct.
And according to you, that was denied because the defendant said that you had actually picked up the T-shirts.
Correct.
Okay.
And I have
Do you
proof
have,
of that
do you,
from PayPal.
I'd like to see that.
Larissa hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
The incorrect logo was used.
Judy reviews the document.
Okay. Before I get into the substantive part of it, whether or not you liked the artwork or not, who was contacted by PayPal? Which one of you?
That would be, he handled
Okay.
the PayPal claim.
I took care of PayPal.
You took the call from PayPal?
Yes.
When you had communication with PayPal, do you have any proof, written proof of your communication, or did you just speak to PayPal verbally on the phone?
Both. We talked on the phone, and we also, PayPal documents our conversations via email through the website.
Did you tell PayPal that the plaintiff had picked up the merchandise?
Yes.
Well, that's not true.
It is true. She picked up the merchandise.
No. I don't believe that, sir. I believe she was dissatisfied with the merchandise. But unless you can prove to me that she picked up the merchandise, I don't believe that. Okay. Because she may be a tough cookie, and she may have gotten crazed with you and said miserable things about you in her review, but she would not be here today if she picked up the merchandise.
Her event was the next day. The day she picked them up, it was the day before her event.
Who gave it to her?
We gave it to her.
Not we. No, not we. Who gave it to her?
I gave it to her.
You're asking me a question, sir. You're asking me a question.
Her order was...
Just a second. You have a business?
Yes.
You're in a building. Is there a reception area in the building?
Yes.
Did you tell PayPal that they were picked up from the reception area in the building?
I don't recall.
I want you to think about it. I want you to think about it. Did you tell PayPal that they were picked up in a reception area in your building?
I don't recall if I said the reception area or my office. I'm not sure the terminology I used.
Well, what was it, reception area or your office?
My office is
that's a question.
Area. My reception area is in my office. I don't recall exactly what I told PayPal, but she did pick them up that day. And that's what I told PayPal.
No, I don't believe you.
Okay. That's what we're here for.
No, that's what we're here for. Because sizing her up, she's a tough cookie.
Yes.
And she, as I said, might have been dissatisfied with the logo, which I don't necessarily have to even go into now. What the screen was like, what the colors were off, or whatever it was, I don't have to go into that. Because if I believe that she did not pick up the merchandise, and you told PayPal that she did pick up the merchandise, she gets her refund back. Now, so I'm going to come back to you. You didn't like the way they looked.
Correct.
I don't care why. Did you have other shirts made?
I did. I have one of them here today.
Do you have an invoice for the other shirts? Who did you have them made by?
Rush Order Tees.
That's easy. When did you have them made by Rush Order Tees?
I had them made in May.
Well, that's about 30 days later. And did you sell them?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Pull up an order from your phone for Rush Order Tees, please. While you're looking at it, just tell me, how much did you pay for them from Rush Order Tees, and how many did you order?
It was just slightly over $2,000. I believe we ordered 110 T-shirts.
Okay. And you got them sometime in May?
Correct. I'm sorry, that was April 26th was the exact date.
May I see it, please?
Larissa pulls up a document on her phone.
There's my order.
She hands the phone to Kevin. He brings it to Judy, who reviews the document.
It was 1828.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Okay, so Mr. and Mrs. Gallagher, she ordered the T-shirts within a couple of weeks and got them from another company, which suggests to me that if she picked up your T-shirts, she would not have done that. Do you understand?
I don't
Do you
agree
understand?
with that. No, I don't. Because
Well,
if she ordered 200...
You may not like it, but ladies, maybe to you, abrasive, because that's what you say in here. She may be abrasive, but she would not ask for a refund through PayPal if she had picked up. If she had picked up the merchandise, she would not have done that.
The previous year she ordered 200, and this year she ordered 100 from me, 100 from them, which same is consistent, 200 shirts.
I can answer to that if you'd like.
She picked them up.
No, she didn't. No, she didn't.
We ordered a smaller quantity this year because many of our friends had already purchased them the previous year.
Whatever. I don't believe that you picked them up. I believe that you got angry because they weren't exactly what you wanted. You looked at them, but there's no question that it was an easy answer for him to give when PayPal called and said she picked them up from the reception area. Okay, and I don't believe that. So you have to get your refund back because you were dissatisfied and because you lied.
Ernie bristles. Caption coming up.
There was an incident between the plaintiff and your husband, and you came in. Did you say something to her?
Yeah, I did.
Don't.
I didn't want to talk to her.
No.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Larissa, Ernie, and Sonia.
Larissa Kuala-Ehlers claims business owners Ernie and Sonia Gallego owe for a refund on custom T-shirts. Ernie and Sonia are countersuing for defamation.
But that doesn't justify.
What?
We did do all the work. The printing is the very last part of the order. We did the graphic work. We printed samples. We went above and beyond to try to make her happy, and she was completely unreasonable. There was
listen, I said to you, she may be a completely unreasonable customer.
Right.
That's possible. Fortunately, I don't have to go into that because the reason your husband gave PayPal for not giving her a refund was because she took the merchandise. And I don't believe that. I believe she may have been, in your eyes, a totally unreasonable customer. And if your husband had said to PayPal, we were ready, willing, and able, we fulfilled our contract to the letter, and we could just not satisfy this lady. The merchandise is here, ready to be picked up. It was always ready to be picked up. He didn't. He told them she got it, and that was not true. And that, Miss Gallego, is why she gets her refund back.
Her event was the day before. We were on a crucial deadline. We have our employees working overtime, getting her job done. We have receipts of all the items that were printed, that were ordered. She came in the day before her event, picked up what we had completed. I had completed approximately 72 shirts. She took one box out of 2 that day. She was going to come back for the rest. She left with what she had for her event. She even posted pictures on social media of our shirts.
Oh, that I would like to see. Did you pick up any boxes from him?
I picked up no boxes. And the event that he's referring to, my son has a race on the second Saturday of every month. I had asked for those shirts to be ready by his April race, but because they were not, I didn't have shirts for him until the March race. Every shirt that you see in my social media or my son's social media is the shirts that we purchased from Rush Order Tees.
I'd like to see.
This is our sample picture.
No, I want to see what...
Oh, here.
Is that one of the shirts that you prepared for her?
This is on her social media account. And then this is also just the graphic work that we did on her social media page.
Which social media account?
I'll find out.
Sonia hands photos to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
We know that's our shirts because I did the graphic design work. All the logos she gave me were like different colors. They were full color. They had black backgrounds. I revised, redrew everything, and converted them all to white.
Just 1 second.
I did the graphic work, and they're all in PNG form, so all you have to do is change them
If
to
she
white.
did the graphic work, then why would she pay us to do the graphic work?
And I have an email printout of the graphic she submitted to us. Is not print ready.
Oh, I don't care about that. I'm not getting into those weeds.
I have copies of all of the JPEGs.
According to you,
yes.
I'm going to go back. He said that there were 2 boxes ready.
There were 2 boxes ready.
There's 2 boxes ready, but that wasn't all the shirts.
There was
2 boxes. The 2 boxes were not all the shirts. How many shirts were in a box?
72.
So what you're telling me is that she picked up 72 shirts.
Yes.
Okay. Go back and tell me. Just refresh my recollection as to what he said about the 2 boxes of shirts. Well, we had 2 boxes of shirts ready.
I didn't pick up a thing. They wouldn't even let me take a sample.
Whitney reviews the transcript.
She took 1 box out of 2 that day. She was going to come back for the rest.
Were there only 2 boxes or were there more than 2 boxes?
2 boxes.
Did you tell PayPal that she did not take half of the merchandise?
I told PayPal that we filled 72 pieces when I talked to them on the phone.
That's not what PayPal said to her, sir. That's not what PayPal said.
I'm not sure what PayPal said to her.
PayPal said that the merchandise was delivered to you.
Exactly
and you did not
what?
return, and it was not returned. But that's not true.
Exactly what
Only
I'm
half-
testifying here is what I told
well,
PayPal.
Well, then why wouldn't PayPal say to her, look, we don't know what the dispute is all about, color and everything else, but you're entitled to half your deposit back if you told her you only delivered half the merchandise.
The thing is, 100% of the shirts, there's 3 locations, a front, back, and a sleeve.
Listen.
We have everything's 100%, the sleeves are done. The 72 were printed 100%. We just had 29 shirts remaining, 28 shirts remaining.
I don't believe you, Mr. Gallagher. She gets her deposit back. Now we're going to get to your counterclaim. Counterclaim is for $5,000 for defamation. So I'd like to see how she defamed you.
So Larissa posted a negative review on Yelp, which
She's allowed to do.
She's allowed to. However, she's not allowed to say that my husband lunged at her and was aggressive. That's
I'd like to see it.
Here you
And then I'll ask her about it.
And I've also included other reviews from other businesses that she's dealt with where it has the same MO. I spoke to another business owner.
Judy gestures for Sonia to be silent.
Did Miss Gallagher call you on your cell phone the day afterwards to apologize for her husband's behavior?
She called me that afternoon.
On your cell phone?
I believe it was on my cell phone, yes.
And this happened on April 26th of 2022?
It happened on
No.
April 8th.
Okay, so that would be in your phone log.
Should be, if I still have it.
While she's looking, Miss Gallagher, after this incident, when she came in and had this acrimonious discussion with your husband, which is evidenced in this review, did you call Miss Ehlers? Did you call her?
I did call her.
Okay.
Yes, I
And
did.
that because that she can prove that you called her.
Yes.
Now, after this screaming match that she had with your husband, where she left your premises,
It wasn't
she
a
said,
screaming
just,
match.
she said that you came down for whatever reason. I'm just asking you things that can be proven.
Right.
What can be proven is after she stormed out that day, you called her the next day. I want to know what you're claiming you said to her the next day.
I gave her a call to smooth the situation over.
Just tell me what you said to her the next day. Hello, it's me from $5 school teas. It's Sonia.
Okay.
What did you say to her? Be careful.
I don't remember word for word, but what I do remember saying is that I apologize for how everything played out.
Okay. Okay, because there was an incident between the plaintiff and your husband.
Yes.
And you came in.
Judy glares at Ernie.
Did you say something to her?
Yeah, I did.
Don't.
I didn't want to talk to her.
No.
Caption, coming up.
I think you got into a screaming match with her, and I think that your wife intervened that day, which is why she called her the next day to try to smooth things over. This is not a tea dance. This is not a tea dance.
Ernie nods. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Larissa, Ernie, and Sonia.
Larissa Kuala Ehlers is accusing business owners Ernie and Sonia Gallego of ruining her custom t-shirt order. Ernie and Sonia say Larissa left a negative review and defamed them.
Okay, you came in the middle of the dispute.
Yes.
And in the middle of the dispute, you try to calm things down.
Yes.
Because she was screaming at him.
Yes.
And he was screaming at her.
No.
What was he saying to her? She was screaming at him, and what was he doing? Now, just remember, you called her the next day.
I did.
To apologize to her.
Not to her. I called to apologize for the entire situation from beginning to end.
But if what you're telling me is that the only one who was behaving badly was the plaintiff, that's what you're telling me. The only one that was behaving badly was the plaintiff.
She was out of line.
There's no question. There's no question. Actually, she acknowledges in this review.
But that's not the worst part of it.
She acknowledges in this review that she was out of line in screaming.
Yes.
And that's what you came into.
Yes.
So the only thing that you're disputing is that your husband was likewise screaming at her, answered her back.
He was not screaming. He was patient, and he was attempting to work it out with her. The only thing I remember him saying, and I can recall, is him saying, I'm trying to help you. I don't understand why you're acting this way. And I do recall him telling her that she was a bad person because she was.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, a person can only take so much.
I'm telling you, she says this.
Yes.
In her review. Okay. Now, you want me to look at other reviews that she wrote for a carpet company in 2021.
Yes, and I spoke to the owner.
Judy reviews a document.
Okay, first she complained about a carpet company and the horrible service. They laughed at her and disrespected her. Okay. And then, that was in 2021. That was a year before. Then she posted a review, according to the timeline, in 2015. So 6 years before.
It shows a pattern.
No, a pattern.
Yeah,
a pattern. Three complaints. Three complaints from somebody who lives a life in 6 years.
I have a copy of all of the
Just a
five-star reviews.
Okay, and this one said the owner wasn't interested in hearing her complaints. It was over the phone and hung up. That's 2015. Okay, she takes her reviews seriously. Now, you want to show me other reviews?
These are all of the five-star reviews that I've done as well. I'm an equal opportunity Yelper.
Just a second.
Larissa hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy.
Would you just show this to the plaintiff and make sure she agrees that those are hers, and then I'm going to have you show this to the defendants.
Kevin hands a document to Larissa.
Okay. Now show this to Ms. Gallego.
Kevin hands a document to Sonia.
All you have to do is look at them quickly.
Yeah.
Well, no, just a second.
Yeah.
You didn't look at them.
Oh, I was reading. Okay.
You don't have to read the whole thing. These are five-star reviews.
Yes.
Count how many she did.
Yes, I see that there's a good...
So she takes her reviews seriously. It's not a pattern.
Right, but she's aggressive in everyone. Like I mentioned...
No, not aggressive in here.
Well, not in those.
Not
in the negative
here.
ones, yes.
Not in here, and two of the ones that you gave me were over the phone. If I told you how many times my husband hangs up on people over the phone aggressively...
I understand, but name-calling and belittling people and calling him...
Retarded,
stupid.
Just a second. All unladylike.
She attacked my faith.
Oh, listen to me. That's not what you're talking about, Mr. Gallego. You're talking about a lawsuit for defamation, that she posted something that was false on the internet. And I'm telling you it wasn't false because I think you got into a screaming match with her, and I think that your wife intervened that day, which is why she called her the next day to try to smooth things over. This is not a tea dance. This is not a tea dance. You understand? This is not a tea dance. I believe that she did not pick up her shirts. I believe that that's why your wife called her to try to smooth out that, as well as what had happened the day before. She behaved badly.
You're allowing a tyrant to get away with this.
I'm allowing a tyrant to get away with this?
She completely bashed us. She's lying. She picked up her order.
No, I don't believe that.
Your Honor, my reputation, I work with students, I work with teachers, moms. My reputation, I don't advertise.
Just a second.
It's all word of mouth.
She did not pick up her order, sir, even according to you. According to you, she only picked up a partial order. She picked up one box. That's according to you.
That's not what
did all the work.
72 out of 100.
No, I don't. Listen to me. So what you're saying is there were two boxes, not in half. The orders were not in half. You filled up one box and only there was a little bit of merchandise left in the second box.
Come back for, yes.
Yeah, I don't believe you, sir.
Because
she gets her refund. She gets her refund. $16.93.
What about
Judgment
all
for
the
the
work that
plaintiff.
we-
Counterclaims dismissed. We are done here.
This court is adjourned.
Sonia and Ernie, then Larissa.
She completely dismissed the way she treated us.
She absolutely made the right decision.
I've never dealt with a customer like this in my 25-year history. I went well above and beyond.
They're angry with me because I didn't like their work product.
Our work speaks for itself. Our history speaks for itself. We have clients that have been with us for years, and we'll just continue doing what we're doing.
You always get what you pay for. Make sure you're looking out for where you're doing business.
Judy and Sarah.
I really believe that she got aggressive with him when she went to pick up those T-shirts. She acknowledges she got aggressive with him. She says in her Yelp review, sorry to say that she became angry and agitated and started screaming at him, which he doesn't have to tolerate. I do believe that his wife intervened, as she said in her Yelp review, that his wife came in saying to his wife, I'm talking to her, not to you. I can
Really
actually,
heated moment.
I can actually see
Visualize
him.
it.
I can actually visualize him saying that. Problem is, you have to make a judgment, and the judgment really was whether somebody who was aggressive, and she was, who knows her business, knows what she wants, runs a business, had ordered the shirts before, had ordered them for somebody else, was satisfied with the previous order because there was no negative review that they showed from that order. She may have been dissatisfied. She may have had just cause to be dissatisfied. But he lied when she said she picked up the shirts.
Just to prevent her from getting a refund.
From getting her refund. So I didn't believe that, because I don't think that that woman would have been here if she had picked up the shirts. She would have been here. She would have said, I want a refund because here are the shirts. It's not what I ordered.
Exactly. It doesn't make sense.
It's usually not true.
Title: Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv. Suing dog owner Kevin Free for vet bills.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Bailiff Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2064, Singleton versus Free.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Singleton, your case is relatively simple. It is your claim that the defendant's unleashed dog bit your dog.
Yes, ma'am.
And you incurred vet bills, and you want Mr. Free to be responsible for them.
That's correct.
Mr. Free says that it's true that his dog did bite yours on, I think, on the leg.
Yes, ma'am.
But that your dog was on his property and your dog was the aggressor. That's your position.
Correct.
Okay. And you were walking two dogs.
Two dogs and my nephew.
Nephew was a baby.
Yes, he was 3 years old, and my dog was 3, and the large dog that was bit, he was 12 at the time.
So you have a small rat terrier, I think. And your larger dog is what kind of dog?
A Siberian Husky.
And what kind of dog do you have, sir?
I have a Italian Mastiff, Cane Corso.
That's a big dog.
At the time, he was about maybe 12 months old, so maybe a little bit over a year. So he's bigger now, but yeah.
How much did he weigh?
At that time, probably about 80 pounds.
Tell me about your property, sir. You have
Well,
a
we
photograph of your property?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Okay. Here's a couple of them here.
Defendant Kevin produces a photo.
Miss Singleton, this incident happened when?
Christmas Day of last year, around 12:30, right before we had Christmas lunch.
Weather was okay?
Oh, it was great.
And how close do you live to Mr. Free?
I don't live anywhere near him. I actually live in Stone Mountain, but I was going to my parents' house for Christmas, so we were walking around the neighborhood. He lives almost directly behind my parents' house.
And I see that while there are driveways here, the front lawn extends all the way to the street. Is that right?
Yes.
And you were walking both your dogs, and were they leashed or unleashed?
They were leashed.
Both?
Yes, they were both leashed.
And Mr. Free, you sort of acknowledged that both of her dogs were on leashes.
I've only seen one dog. I didn't see two dogs, and I didn't see a child either. It was her and a dog, so.
The dog that you saw, what kind of dog was
It
that?
looked like a husky. Looked kind of like a wolf, so I'm not sure.
So just a second. So you saw a husky.
Correct.
Did you see the plaintiff?
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you one more time.
Okay.
Was the husky on a leash?
I guess, yes, I guess.
The answer is either yes or no.
I'm not sure. I wasn't.
Okay, well,
I wasn't
if you're
looking at
not
the
sure,
leash.
she says the husky was on a leash.
Yeah, so I'm not going to deny her dog was.
Okay. And your dog at the time was on your property unleashed.
My dog was on my property, period.
Your dog, pay careful attention. Your dog was on your property
Correct.
unleashed.
Correct.
At 12:30 on Christmas Day, what were you doing?
I was putting up a basketball goal I had just bought for my children for Christmas in the front yard with my dog next to me.
Okay. What I want you to do is this a picture of your house?
That's a picture of my house from the other side of the street, correct?
That's fine. This is a picture of
Yes.
your house.
Yes, it is.
The answer is yes. Kevin, what I'd like you to do is take this photograph to Mr. Free. I want him to take a Sharpie. Do we have a Sharpie? Something. Okay.
I have a pen.
You have a pen?
Yes, ma'am.
And tell him to make a circle where he was and an X where he saw, for the first time, Miss Singleton and her dog. X where you were, just
Okay.
where you were. You personally.
Defendant Kevin marks the photo.
Okay.
And put a circle, the place where you saw Miss Singleton for the first time.
He marks the photo again.
Okay.
Bailiff Kevin brings the photo to Judy, who reviews it.
So you were in the front yard.
Correct.
And that looks about 30 feet away from where you saw Miss Singleton for the first time.
If that.
From here to here.
I'll say about 20 feet, Your Honor. It's not as big as it looks on that picture. It's pretty small, Your Honor.
I would say it's about 30 feet from where you put the X. It's all the way past the house. You're at the one side of the driveway. You have an entranceway to your house.
Correct.
And then you have, is this front a living room?
Yes, it is.
A living room, which is past that. And where you made a circle, which is a very large circle, is probably 10 feet away from the edge of the house.
Yes, that's what I know.
So I said it's about 30 feet away.
Okay.
And now I want you to put, can I have your pink Sharpie, please? Yes. Thank you very much. I want you to use this and put in this picture where your dog was at 12:30.
To get your understanding, you want
12:30. I want you to put a mark where your dog was immediately before you saw Miss Singleton and her
immediately
dog.
before. Thank you. You're not going to be able to see.
Okay, great.
Defendant Kevin marks the photo. Bailiff Kevin brings it to Judy, who reviews it.
Great. So your dog, according to you, was right next to you, about 30 feet away from where Miss Singleton was when you saw her.
To be honest with you, he kind of moves around the yard. He doesn't sit still very much, so.
Well, you understand, Mr. Free, that even if your dog is on your property, you're supposed to maintain control of your dog all the time.
And which I
You
do.
understand that?
Yes, I do.
You understand that?
Yeah.
So if your dog is able to run 30 feet without being connected to you,
He didn't run.
just walk, cha-cha, tap dance, pirouetted, however he got there, your dog got 30 feet away from where you were.
Correct.
Your 80-pound dog.
Defendant Kevin nods. Caption coming up.
Ultimately, her case comes down to she was walking her leashed dog. I haven't figured out whose fault it is yet. She was walking her leashed dog, and your dog ran, walked, pirouetted, cha-cha, whatever it did, to her dog out of your control.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Christine and defendant Kevin.
Christine Singleton claims dog owner Kevin Free owes for vet bills from a dog fight.
Now, Miss Singleton was walking with her other dog and a 3-year-old. I want you to process that into your mind. And this is a 12-month-old, which is still a puppy. You know, still a puppy, but at 80 pounds...
Your Honor, there was no 3-year-old. I didn't see a 3-year-old.
Just a second.
Okay.
I don't care what you saw while you were busy putting together something for Christmas in your front yard. If you didn't see it, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. If you didn't see it, it just means you didn't see it. She tells me she sees it. She remembers walking her 2 dogs. You only remember 1. She has 2 that she was walking at 12:30 Christmas Day. The fact that you only saw 1 means you weren't paying attention to where your dog was.
Or they wasn't there.
Well, that's pretty stupid, Mr. Free.
I mean, it doesn't make sense to carry 2 dogs and an infant down a neighborhood you don't even belong in. I mean, you don't not from.
Mr. Free, they're only going to take 1 voice.
I understand.
They're only going to take 1 voice, and that's mine. Let me tell you why your argument is stupid. Because it doesn't make any difference whether she was walking 2 dogs or 4 dogs or 8 dogs. It doesn't make any difference whether she was walking with or without a 3-year-old. Ultimately, her case comes down to she was walking her leashed dog. I haven't figured out whose fault it is yet. She was walking her leashed dog, and your dog ran, walked, pirouetted, cha-cha, whatever it did, to her dog out of your control. Was not under your control because it was not leashed. Do you understand?
I understand.
Now, I can take away everything else. Not that I'm going to, because I believe that you were distracted, you didn't see it, and I believed her that she was walking with her 3-year-old nephew.
Yes, ma'am.
Nephew and another dog that you didn't see. But that's not the issue in this case, whether she was with another dog, another child, or with anybody else. The issue is, whose fault is it that a dog was out of control? So, now you're going to tell me what happened at 12:30 on Christmas Day, just so that Mr. Free doesn't think that I'm picking on him.
Okay.
Which I'm not.
Okay, I know.
You may think I am, but I'm not picking on him. You're walking with your husky.
Yes, ma'am.
On a leash.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened?
I was walking with my nephew, 3 years old.
No, don't just listen to me.
Okay.
Listen to me carefully.
Okay, just walk down the street.
I
Okay.
said you're walking. I got it in my mind.
Okay.
But so Mr. Free doesn't think that I'm being unfair to him because he doesn't remember what he saw. You're walking your husky.
Okay, only him.
On the street. So your nephew didn't get hurt. Your rat terrier didn't get hurt.
That's correct.
Okay. So now you're walking your husky on the street. And?
Okay, and then all of a sudden we see a dog charging towards us. And
Who's we?
Oh, I called me, my nephew, and my dog's we.
No, now it's just I saw.
I saw a dog charging towards us. That dog and Leon got into an altercation, and then Leon turned around to try and kick the dog in the face, and he grabbed his foot and he let go.
Okay,
but then
let's go much slower.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
You saw a dog charging towards you.
Yes, ma'am.
And?
And that dog got into an altercation with my
your dog.
Yeah.
Tell me about that initial altercation.
At first, they were biting each other's muzzles.
Okay, so they were both biting each other's muzzles.
Yes.
Okay.
My dog turned around to try and, I guess, either...
No, don't tell me what he was trying to do. Your dog turned around.
He kicked the dog in the face.
Your dog kicked his dog in the face.
Yes, he grabbed his leg, punctured it, let it go. Leon kicked him again. This time he grabbed his other leg.
Okay, so your dog kicked that dog again?
Twice, yes.
His dog again?
Yes, ma'am.
And?
That dog that time grabbed his leg, had a good hold, and shook it immediately. And then that's when I knew his leg was broken.
No, don't show me pictures.
Okay.
First I have to find whose fault it is before I look at pictures and vet bills.
Okay.
Okay, now, when you saw his dog charging towards you, and your dog's name is Leon?
Yes, ma'am.
On a leash?
Yes, ma'am.
On a leash. But it's a big dog.
Yes, ma'am.
How much does it weigh?
Leon, 75 pounds.
So about the same as the defendant's dog?
Yes.
And it's a senior dog?
Yes, that is correct.
Has your dog ever had a history with another dog? I'm going to say it again. Has your dog ever had a history of an altercation with another dog?
No, ma'am.
Has your dog ever had a history of an altercation with another person?
No, ma'am.
And I assume if I asked you those questions, you would give me what answer, sir?
I would say no.
You would say no because?
Because my dog has never had any problems with any dogs.
With any dog?
Any dogs, person?
Any other person?
Correct.
So you would acknowledge, Miss Singleton, that I'm going to show you this photograph of Mr. Free's house. And what I'd like you to do is show me where, according to you, let's get her a different color pen. Do we have a different, well, we have, that's
This is blue.
Okay. I'd like you to make a P, to just put a P where the dogs first made contact.
Bailiff Kevin brings the photo and a pen to Christine.
Okay. It's not on this photo.
Is it on this photo? Do you have a photo?
I do have a photo.
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
Would you please make
This is his home, and this is where it happened, right underneath the tree.
Put a P there.
Christine marks a photo, then hands it to Bailiff Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
Oh, so what you're saying is, where you put the P, that the dog was in the street.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Were you in the street?
I sure was.
I would like you to put a D in this picture where you say, did you see Mr. Free?
I did not until he came and retrieved his animal.
Did you see where he came from?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Did you see anything being assembled in the yard?
Once we were leaving, yes.
And what did you see?
A basketball goal.
A basketball goal?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that what you were putting together, Mr. Free?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you show me where that was, please?
Bailiff Kevin brings a photo to Christine, who makes a mark on it. Bailiff Kevin then returns the photo to Judy. Judy reviews the photo.
It was here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, Mr. Free, you're putting something together. The first thing you hear is a kerfuffle, some sort of a...
No.
What do you hear?
Caption, coming up.
Dogs are animals. They're not as smart as you are. But when your dog charged out into the street, it could just as easily have gotten hit by a car. That would have been your fault. Your dog was out in a public street outside of your control, and it's a big dog, and you should be more careful.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Christine and defendant Kevin.
Christine Singleton claims dog owner Kevin Free is responsible for injuries after his dog attacked her dog.
No, I actually I saw my dog run across the yard. So.
And you saw the dog running across the yard.
Well, normally I really don't have a problem with him.
Let me explain something to you.
Yeah. Okay.
My job that I'm really good at is telling when people are peeing on my leg and trying to tell me it's raining.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Now, I could tell immediately from your body language that you were beginning to tell me a whole bunch of who shot John. So I suggest to you, Mr. Free, that if you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. Now, I want to explain to you why that's so important. Did you hear Miss Singleton? Miss Singleton actually said that her dog nipped yours in the face.
Correct.
She said that.
Correct.
She didn't have to tell me that.
Okay.
She said her dog not only nipped your dog in the face because they were fighting muzzle to muzzle, but afterwards kicked your dog twice. Do you understand? That's what she said.
I heard that, yeah.
That's what she said about that. That's sort of, that's sort of surprising. That would seem to someone.
It surprises me that dogs can get up on their front legs and kick too. So I don't know what she's saying to you, but I don't know. I didn't see any kicking.
Listen to
the fight lasted like 3 seconds. It wasn't. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Do you understand when you're not telling the truth, Mr. Free?
Well, I think what you're reading from me is me responding to a whole bunch of stuff that was said that didn't.
No, what me responding to you is your body English. That's me responding to you because you were putting together this thing, but you said it was here.
Correct. It was in the driveway. It's pretty big.
Well, this isn't a driveway, sir. That's grass. That's what you marked where you were. And you marked where your dog was in the grass.
Asked me where I was.
Just a second.
Not the basketball goal.
No, I asked you where you were.
Yeah,
and you said here. And then you said to me, please read it back. Where were you? And you said, I believe he said he was in the driveway.
Correct. It was in the driveway.
I apologize. Excuse me.
Just a second. Driveway.
Okay.
Do you understand?
I do.
Eventually, it noodles its way out, sir. The same way it noodles its way out to, my memory is correct, in your answer you wrote down, you saw them for the first time in the street.
On the, what we call a curve. It's a small slope that comes up from there. Not all the way in the street, no.
No. Here, you see what happens, Mr. Free?
Yeah.
What you just said to me belies credulity.
Well, I'm trying to be as
just a
precise
second,
as I
but
can.
not
Excuse me.
because, you know, I've lived on this planet almost 80 years. And if I have a choice between walking in the street and walking in that little dip that's designed to take rainwater away, I don't walk in that thing because I'll get killed. I'll break my legs. And you certainly don't walk in this little thing if you're walking two dogs and a child. You don't walk in that little drain that's carved out here to take rainwater away. You walk either on the grass, on everybody's grass, or you walk in the street.
Makes sense.
And you, sir, would have me believe that the plaintiff walked all the way around the block, walking on people's grass. Other than that, she would have to be in the street and decide, well, I think I'm going to go up on the grass in this guy's house.
I wouldn't say that.
What?
Sometimes it's unavoidable, so I'm not saying that at all.
Sir, I have to tell you something.
Yeah.
You're going to pay her vet bills. Your dog was out of your control and was in the street, not on your grass. In the street. You had no control over your dog, an 80-pound puppy. Now, the dog could have, just playfully, knocked over the 3-year-old and hurt the 3-year-old. Could have. Didn't. Got into a scuffle with a dog approximately the same size. Her dog was leashed, within her control. Your dog, you had to run from where you were putting this together and come and get your dog.
Your Honor,
that's what you say.
A dog under control doesn't manage to do 2 jump kicks and a bite.
Sir. No, just a second, sir. You can do that if you're on a leash. Her dog never left her hand.
Your Honor, the injuries was to the hind feet of the dog.
This isn't, Mr. Free, this is, maybe your wife lets you get away with that, sir. I don't. This is not a tap dance. This is not a recital or a rehearsal. You made a picture of where you said this happened. Yeah. I don't believe you. That's what it's about. I believe that this occurred on a public street, and on the public street, you had no control of your dog. You decided to let your dog stay outside. You haven't had any trouble with your dog before, so you wouldn't have anticipated that your dog would run out into the street, because if your dog ran out into the street and a car hit it and killed it, whose fault would that be?
That would definitely be mine.
That would definitely be yours, right? Do you think that you might sue the person who hit your dog? You might try. You might try. You might say, oh my God, they should have been going slower. Oh my God. Do you understand? You're the owner. Dogs are animals. They're not as smart as you are. But when your dog charged out into the street, it could just as easily have gotten hit by a car. That would have been your fault. But under those circumstances, you would have said it's the car's fault. Your dog was out in a public street outside of your control, and it's a big dog, and you should be more careful. If you want to keep your dog outside while you're putting something together and keep the dog on your property, put down a stake, put the dog on a lead, and let the dog stay outside with you. But if you let a 12-month-old, 80-pound dog run loose and it runs into the street, you, sir, are responsible for the consequences. What was your vet bill?
It was $1,832.64.
Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I don't think that I was 100% responsible.
I'm glad it was swift and easy, honestly.
From my perspective, it lasted for about 3 seconds.
I was trying to fight with this man for a while. I'm glad it's over.
Might have happened in that 3 seconds, but it was too fast for my eyes.
Honestly, it was kind of traumatizing, especially since I had a 3-year-old with me, and I had to quickly think and just pick him up before the dog got him.
I think they just fought and my dog won.
Bring the Judy justice, baby.
I watched the show. I know how she gets down, you know?
Sarah and Judy.
So, as you know, we have 2 large, pretty docile golden retrievers at home that are now 8 and 12 years old. But even when we have family that comes over, or friends with little children that are curious, that like to come up and pull on the ears a little or play with them, you have to be careful. They're 80 and 90-pound dogs. We've never once had a problem with either of them. But you just never know. You can't control a dog that's 90 pounds, but they're just big. They could knock them over by accident with their tail, just so excited.
Yeah, so you have to be careful. You have a responsibility when you have a big dog.
100%.
Title: Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to Judy. He's suing vehicle owner Robert Pena for damage after his 17-year-old son hit Dean's car.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Judge. Case 2076, Miller versus Pena.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judge Judy turns to Robert.
Mr. Pena, is that your son?
Yes, it is.
The one who was driving the car?
Yes.
Okay, good. You stand up next to your father. Mr. Miller, is your claim that the defendant's son hit your car that was parked in a parking lot?
Yes, Your Honor.
And it was parked in the parking lot of a high school?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you work in that high school?
Yes.
As what?
I'm a teacher.
What do you teach?
I teach what's called on-site continuation. It's a continuation classroom for 10th through 12th grade students.
Do you go to that school?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. On what date did you park your car when you allege it was hit?
I was on March 8th, Your Honor.
You were in school that day.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, you should know that in reviewing this case, Mr. Miller, because he was not there when his car was hit.
Correct.
Correct? And so he alleges that it was you who hit his car and then left the scene. Your father said it was not you who hit his car, and there's no proof that it was you who hit his car. That's what your father said. Before you answer my questions, I'm going to tell you that Mr. Miller has a video that he says was taken by school cameras that were zoned onto the parking lot that demonstrates that you actually did hit his car and leave. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
So now we're going to go back to March 8th, and you're going to tell me what happened with Mr. Miller's car.
So I drive myself to school every day, or at the time I was driving myself to school because that was my only way of getting to school.
Did you have a driver's license?
At the time, no, I did not have a driver's
So you were driving a car without a driver's license?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what kind of a car were you driving?
It was a 1991 Camaro.
Where did you get the car from?
Me and my dad had gone off the street. It was a project car.
How old are you?
17.
Did you try to take a driving test?
Yes.
When?
Back when I had turned 17, actually, in February of last year.
And you didn't pass it?
No.
Did you take the written test?
No.
What did you take in February?
The practical test.
Just the practical test, the driving test?
Yes.
And you failed that?
Yes.
So despite the fact that you failed that, you drove the car, and your father knew that you were driving the car without a license? That's a yes or a no?
Yes.
Was there insurance on this car, Mr. Pena?
No, there wasn't.
So no insurance, no license. So far, not good parenting. You understand that, Mr. Pena?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so you drove yourself to school and?
There's a parking lot that all the students, teachers, anyone who goes to school, really, they can park
Yes, nobody suggests you were trespassing in a place you weren't supposed to be.
Yeah, so every morning I would park in...
Not everyone, look at me. That day, Mr. Miller's car.
Yes, Your Honor. That day, March 8th, I came to school as usual and I parked in my area, and then one of the on-school deputies that the school has, he pulled up right behind me as I parked, and he asked me for my information, he asked me for my name, my school ID.
I want to know what happened with Mr. Miller's car.
Oh, nothing happened with Mr. Miller's car.
So what you're telling me is that you did not hit Mr. Miller's car. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, Your Honor.
What car were you driving that day?
1991 Camaro.
What color is it?
Red.
How long have you been going to that school?
It's my 4th year going.
How many other people drive a 1991 Camaro? Red. Nobody.
Nobody.
And so I'm going to watch this video. Sarah, do we have the video?
I have it.
Sarah produces a tablet.
So,
She sets it before Judy.
wait, you'll see it.
Judy watches the screen.
Okay. You had a truck.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so there's no question you hit the truck. Do you want me to show you the video?
No, Your Honor.
Well, if you don't want to see the video, that's because you told me a lie.
Oh, yes, I'd like to see the video.
Absolutely. Going to watch very carefully, you pulling into a spot and the truck moved as you were pulling in. Have they shown you the video, Mr. Pena?
They show me a different version of that video.
Well, I've just seen the version that I saw.
Kevin brings the tablet to Robert and Nathan.
Got it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Saw the truck move, did you?
Yes, it did.
When you were pulling in next to it?
Yes, I was.
When you were pulling in next to it? So that didn't happen because there was an earthquake. That happened because you hit the truck.
Yes, Your Honor.
Fine. Now we understand each other, Mr. Pena?
Yes.
Great. That's a yes. Okay. Can I see pictures of your truck, please, and the estimate to repair it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Dean produces photos and documents, then hands them to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews a photo of a pickup truck with a scratched bumper.
Have you seen the photographs?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Totally consistent, right? Okay. Mr. Miller, you're from California?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you regularly teach today?
Yes.
So you had to take a day off.
Yes, I have a substitute today, yes.
How many days off are you allowed?
10 per year. I've accumulated quite a few because I don't take many days off.
You get paid for those days?
I get compensated because I have sick days or personal necessity days.
The reason I'm asking you these questions, Mr. Miller, because it's no question that you are entitled to have your car fixed. But that's, to me, even though that's all you're requesting, I think the fact that Mr. Pena allowed his son to drive a car without insurance and without a license, not only without a license, but knowing that his son took a driving test the month before and failed it, which means that he was not a good driver. Not a good enough driver to get a driver's license. And I have a lot of people in my family that don't drive well, that I don't like to be in the car with. But they all have driver's licenses because they managed to pass a driving test. So I know that you are only requesting the $1,524, but I'm actually awarding you $2,500.
Thank you.
And that's for the aggravation of, instead of Mr. Pena saying to you, I'm sorry, my son hit your car, because either his son lied to him.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Either his son lied to him, or his son told him the truth, but he lied to me. And he's the grown-up. He set an example for his son that said it's okay to break the law. Not only for you, because you take the car to school. Take the car to school, even though you failed. Take the car to school. It has no insurance. If you hit somebody in that car and you seriously injure them, that car has no insurance. Car has no insurance. He has nothing to lose. Car has no insurance, but the person who he hit, person whose property he may have destroyed, they have no recourse. You understand, sir? That's a bad parental example. You want to say something to me or not?
Yes, I do.
Caption coming up.
I don't care that you didn't like it. That's not, as a parent, the lesson you should be teaching. And whether or not you like the way the sheriff spoke to him, that is totally irrelevant to me.
Later.
I paid as much as I could supporting him. I wasn't getting paid rent for his room.
What happened is you both sort of took advantage of this rent moratorium.
Not true.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Dean, Robert, and Nathan.
Dean Miller claims vehicle owner Robert Pena owes for damage after his 17-year-old son hit Dean's car.
Go ahead.
My thing I didn't like was how he got approached.
I don't care whether you like it or not.
That's what I didn't.
I don't care whether you like it or not. Did your son come home from school that day and say, I hit somebody's car?
No, he didn't.
No, he
was
didn't.
Nowhere.
And just a second. And when you asked him whether he hit somebody's car, what did he tell you? Just be careful.
He said, I think. He felt intimidated
just a second.
by
I think.
the sheriff and him.
I don't care that you didn't like it. That's not as a parent. That's not as a parent the lesson you should be teaching. First of all, you allowed your son to violate the law. You allowed it. And then, I mean, I would certainly know whether I caused that much damage. He knew that that car moved. So either he lied to you or you lied to me. And whether or not you liked the way the school official spoke to him or the sheriff spoke to him, that is totally irrelevant to me. That shouldn't be the takeaway from this. The takeaway from this is you're supposed to follow the rules. The rules are meant for everybody, and that includes you and your kid. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. We're finished here.
This court is adjourned.
Police officer came behind me when I parked and accusing me that I'd hit someone.
The school deputy saw the video, knew the car, so he approached the student.
The person who I supposedly hit came out with a megaphone yelling at me.
There is no megaphone, so I don't know where that came from.
Telling me that I'd hit him. So I was kind of like freaking out. I didn't really know what to think.
If it happened to me, he could hit someone else. And
I didn't know I hit your car. Like, did I hit your car? Like, I didn't even know what to think. I could have sworn I did not.
This was fortunate that it was just a parked car in a parking lot.
It is time to get his license, yes, that's correct.
It is time to get the car fixed and just get some closure on this.
Sarah.
In our family, we would call that contact a love tap. And as someone who has had a few run-ins potentially with stationary objects, I will tell you.
Not potentially.
I will tell you, you know when you hit a stationary object, even if it's just a light little love tap. So I just thought it was outrageous that the defendants, father and son, they knew that there was a video and still took the position of, nope,
nope,
nope.
Well, his father's position was, I didn't like the way they spoke to my son, and therefore, I'm not responsible. They shouldn't have spoken to him. I mean, he's 17 years old, but he looks like a man. He's taller than his father, you know.
You have to take responsibility.
But you have to take responsibility and not drive a car, especially. You failed a driving test. The most basic thing. I mean, you know, we have
I will
people...
say, I did pass on the first try, so...
Yes, but we have people in our family who actually did not.
Okay, yes.
And they
will not be
drive,
named?
and they didn't drive a car.
Yeah.
Until they could pass a driving test.
And their parents were the first ones to say, no shot until you pass that test.
Absolutely.
So parents need to be responsible as well.
Right.
Case 2104, Birkland versus Lefkowitz. All party, please step forward.
Shannon Birkland is suing her former roommate, Ian Lefkowitz, for unpaid rent and eviction costs.
Ms. Birkland, how long had you lived in your residence?
Prior to the defendant moving in?
Yes.
2 years.
And how long did you live there with the defendant?
A total of 5 years.
You lived
with
in
the defendant, I'm sorry, 3 years.
3 years.
This month would have been.
And for most of that 3-year period, what kind of work do you know that the defendant did?
Computer work and music producing.
How do you support yourself, sir?
I produce music. I don't do computer work.
Produce music for whom?
Various artists and brands and whatever.
How long have you been doing that?
Since I was 13 years old.
How old are you now?
32.
You have a corporation or an LLC?
Not currently standing, but I do have one that is out of commission right now that needs to be reestablished.
When was the last time you filed tax returns?
Last
April.
Last April, yeah.
And on your tax returns that you filed, how much did you indicate that you earned?
I receive royalties from a company called, and they take my taxes out automatically, so I'm not sure how much.
I'm asking you how much you reported your gross income was when you filed your tax returns in April
They come automatically, is what I'm saying. I didn't file them. They're paid for and filed automatically by the company that distributes my royalties.
So is what you're saying you didn't file tax returns in April?
I assume that they're filed automatically through this company that pays me.
Mr. Lefkowitz, when was the last time you put a stamp on tax returns that you sent to the government?
I do not know.
Ever? You have to think.
No,
ever?
Like I said, where I make most of my money, if not all my money, comes through a company called, which they take out the taxes automatically before paying me. So I've never filed through that. I just assumed that it was already taken care of in that way.
You assumed wrong.
Okay.
Okay. There came a time, Mr. Lefkowitz, you lived there for 3 years, but there came a time when you stopped paying rent.
Correct.
And what was your rent when you moved in with the plaintiff?
$1,200 a month.
You had your own room?
Yes.
Bathroom?
Yes.
You moved in what month and year?
2019 in October.
And as you said, most of your money comes from royalties, and I assume that's royalties on past work.
Yes.
And you've been existing on that for how long?
8 years or so.
So how much do you make from these royalties? You pay $1,200 a month rent, you have a car.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh, it's not an answer.
Yes.
You have a
how
car.
much do I make?
So you have a car, you have insurance.
Yes.
What kind of car do you have?
I have a Honda Clarity.
What year?
It's a lease. It's a 2021.
And how much do you pay a month for the lease?
$395.
Does that include insurance or does it not include insurance?
It does not include insurance.
So you pay an additional how much for insurance?
About $350.
So you spend $700 a month for your car.
Correct.
And let's get back to, you moved in October of 2019, your rent was $1,200 a month. And you lived there until when?
Until about 2 months ago. So September 4th or 3rd is when I moved all my stuff out.
And when was the last month you paid rent?
That would have been in December of 2021.
So you lived there January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, and part of September. So at least 8 months that you lived there and didn't pay rent.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wasn't there for August, pretty much the
Your
entire.
things were there.
Sure.
If your things are there, you're there.
Okay.
Because that's part of what she's suing for, rent that you didn't pay.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still living there?
No.
Why not?
I was evicted.
When?
The exact date is August 2nd. I do have my paperwork for notice to vacate and all that.
Just a second.
Sure.
On August 2nd of 20...
I'm sorry, that was the court date, and that's when the judgment was made, was August 2nd.
And when did you move out?
2 weeks later.
That's not true.
And you were evicted for non-payment of rent?
Yes, for 2 months.
Yes.
Yes.
Just a second. You were evicted for non-payment of rent?
Yes, for 2 months.
Well, show me that it was for 2 months. I just want to see that it was for 2 months and what 2 months those were.
That page right there.
Shannon hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
No, you didn't leave until, let's say, September 1st.
That sounds more like it.
You didn't leave until September 1st.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I did mistakenly speak. I do remember that the judge...
Don't tell me what the judge said. I'm asking you when you left.
Gave me 6 weeks from that date of August 8th.
What
so I left September 8th.
And you left at about the same time.
I left prior, but I called my neighbor at...
Just a second.
Yeah.
You left at about the same time.
A few days before.
Fine, that's at about the same time.
She actually left after that. I talked to a neighbor that said around the 14th that she was still there.
You can't tell me what the neighbor said. Sorry, that's why I stopped you before.
Caption, coming up.
Well, I know there's a moratorium for COVID, and the government shut my business down.
That's what he
so
says.
I knew that I had protection.
He's saying the exact same thing you are in his answer. You two are soulmates.
Hey, no, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Ian grins. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Shannon and Ian.
Shannon Berkland claims her former roommate, Ian Lefkowitz, is responsible for unpaid rent.
Okay, this eviction notice is dated May 26, and it says that you didn't pay April or May.
Correct.
But both of you lived there in June. Did you pay June?
Yes.
Show me proof. Show me proof that you paid June and July. Show me proof you didn't pay April and May. Show me proof that you paid.
My proof?
Your proof.
Is in the fact that I don't owe any rent except for when the moratorium lapsed, and I...
No.
I don't have a receipt. I don't have a receipt for payment.
Then just say I didn't pay rent for June and July.
I did not pay rent for June and
Well,
July.
just answer that question. So you didn't pay rent for June and July.
Yeah.
Here we go. And you didn't pay for April, May, June, and July. I know you didn't pay for August. There's no question you didn't pay for August, and you were actually there in August, so you didn't pay for 5 months.
I guess, yes.
Okay, yes. And the reason that you didn't pay rent for those 5 months was what?
I had spent all my savings on paying rent, and I had none left. I paid as much as I could, supporting him.
Just a second.
The best I could, and I...
What happened is you both sort of took advantage of this rent moratorium.
Not true.
Well, if you didn't pay rent for April, May, June, July, and August, what were you doing?
Waiting for him to pay his rent because I couldn't afford to pay for my station.
Just a second.
Yeah.
You didn't pay any rent. You didn't say to the landlord, I have a roommate. I can't take care of him. I'm giving you my half of the rent.
Well, I know there's a moratorium for COVID, and the government shut my business down.
That's what he says.
I knew that I had protection.
That's what he says. He's saying the exact same thing you are in his answer.
Did he go to court and do the paperwork and do the filings and
Who cares?
And I do.
Who cares? I don't. Each of you seems to be living. You operate your hair business out of your house.
In addition to another business, yes.
Whatever. You operate your hair business out of the house. He operates, I don't know what he does, but I know he's 32 years old, supports himself, spends $700 a month on a car, spent for a long time $1,200 a month rent, and can't remember the last year or the last decade that he filed tax returns. So whatever it is, this is your problem, Miss Birkeland, and this is what I actually didn't understand when I read your complaint, because what you're looking for is 8 months' rent from him.
Correct.
You didn't pay the rent.
I shouldn't be evicted. I asked him to leave every month that he didn't pay me.
Should have read a cutter.
I had a business as a hairdresser, and I went out to rent a station, and I was out for 4 months to pay for a station.
It doesn't
because
matter.
I wanted to go back to be my nice space that I had created for myself and I've worked my butt off for, and my clients liked. I wasn't getting paid rent for his room. I wanted to move my studio into his room and make it my hair salon. So I can have 2 businesses now out of my home. I have 0 income, 0 businesses. My life has not been easy, and this home was the one thing that I've worked my ass off for. It's the only thing in life that I loved.
Miss Birkeland, did you say to your landlord,
yes,
I have a roommate.
Yes.
He's not paying me his half of the rent, but I want to show you in good faith, I am going to give you my portion of the rent. You didn't do that.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Well, show me. Just a second. Show me. All I know is they say this is your evidence for the full amount of the rent for April and May. And I know you didn't pay June, July, August, and September. I know you didn't pay that, so I'm asking you, just show me some proof, Miss Birkeland, that you said to your landlord, who is also in business of renting space for which they are requesting rent paid in a timely fashion, and then they've got 2 people who decide, well, we have a rent moratorium. I'm not in any worse position now than before, so I'm just not going to pay rent.
Your Honor, I was...
Just show me that you made partial payment to the landlord for April, May, June, July, and August.
I don't have that because I was protected under the law.
Okay, good. And
Your
so is
Honor,
he.
wait, Your
Case
Honor,
is
wait.
dismissed.
I
We're
have
finished.
one question
Goodbye.
for you.
Goodbye. Listen,
I can prove
you
to
two
you
are so.
that
You're
I
just
attempted to
you're
pay
just
full rent after
you
he
two.
was gone, and I was able to bring my business into the house.
You two are soulmates.
pay.
You both relied.
No, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Out.
This court is adjourned.
Soulmates. You both took advantage of a law, and you both lost. Goodbye.
I have nowhere to operate both of my businesses. I created one during COVID.
We both exercised our rights under California tenant laws.
Which I would have had I had a room that he wouldn't leave.
You know, that's just what it is.
Every month I pleaded with him.
That never happened.
I cried, I fought.
She never asked me to leave crying, approached me, or nothing.
If it can be helped, don't have a roommate.
Sarah and Judy.
I'm glad you didn't give her any money. But if you were going to award any money in this case, it should go to the landlord because the plaintiff did the exact same thing using the exact same legal loophole that was created during COVID for people who really were struggling and not being able to afford their rent. And now she sues him for doing the exact same thing that she did. So the landlord is really the only one out here.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And if you could write a check to the landlord, that would be fine, but the landlord isn't a party. I have a feeling that there are a lot of very small landlords, you know, not people that own giant buildings, but people who have, you know, their real estate businesses are small. They may have 2 or 3 or 4 apartments that they rent. They maintain them, whatever. She was living there for a while, clearly happy with the situation because she lived there for 5 years. Well, why just not pay your rent if you're still doing hair in the apartment? That's a business. That's what you're doing. He's still collecting his same royalties, which he thinks somebody else should be reporting on their tax return. I don't know. People have to really grow up. I'm getting so... I'm losing my patience so quickly.
Maybe I'm losing it a little young.
Maybe. I think I'm tarnishing you.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv. Ann V. Kelly and Kevin Jackson for unpaid rent and property damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2116, Uno versus Kelly Jackson.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Uno, you purchased a duplex home, 2 different apartments.
That's correct.
In what month and year did you purchase the home?
November of 2020.
And when you purchased it, one of the duplexes was occupied by the defendants.
That's correct.
It is your claim that they owe you for rent
Yes.
and for property damage.
That's correct.
They are no longer there.
No.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
How long were you and your wife living in the duplex before November of 2020?
We moved in June of 2019.
And at the time, do you recall who your landlord was in June of 2019?
Yes.
Between June of 2019, when you first moved in, and November of 2020, when the plaintiff bought the property, was there any work done on that property?
Not at all.
No maintenance?
No maintenance.
Okay. So from the time you moved in, the prior owner did no maintenance on that property, did no painting?
Oh, just the minor stuff before we moved in. They just painted and just had everything looking nice, the floors.
So just a second. So the prior owner painted the premises and did the floors?
Yes, it was carpet and some flooring in the kitchen.
And Mr. Uno did not do any other painting or flooring or any cosmetic work on the duplex when he purchased it in November of 2020.
No.
So whatever was there by the previous owner of the property is still there.
Yes.
I'm just asking you this because your counterclaim is for child endangerment, and the child endangerment is because of lead paint. That's what you write here.
Yes.
He didn't put in the lead paint, right?
Yes, thinking about that.
He didn't paint it. You don't know when it was painted. Maybe it was painted by the prior owner. How do you know? By the way, do you have medical records of the child that you claim has lead poisoning?
Yes.
I'd like to see them.
Jackson hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
Yes, he.
She reviews it.
I have no idea what this says.
That's the piece of paper that he gave me from the hospital.
Well, I don't understand
for
it.
the blood work.
I'm not a doctor, so I can't.
Okay.
We have something from the health department also stating that because my son his lead was found in his system, they got involved.
I understand that. He did not paint the apartment.
No, ma'am.
When you, just for my own curiosity, when you bought this place, do you remember the purchase of it? And when you purchase a property, usually there's an inspection.
Yes.
And one of the questions usually has to do with lead paint. Do you remember any of that from when you purchased the property?
I didn't receive any notification of lead paint from the inspectors.
Well, usually they sign off that there is no lead paint.
I don't remember seeing because they never mentioned anything about it.
Nothing about lead paint? No. Okay. Did you ever have the home tested, by the way, for lead?
Only when we found out about my son having lead.
Okay. And do you have the test result?
And there was lead found in 2 places, not just the bathtub.
Miss Kelly, the issue is he didn't do any of that painting.
Right.
He bought the place. You had been living there for a year and a half before he bought the place.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. And your son was born within that year and a half.
Well, we moved there, he was 6 months.
He was 6 months old, so he lived there for a year and a half even before he purchased it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We did buy the things to fix the bathroom up. He told us to take them back to fix the tub and everything because we asked him to fix it. So the things we had, like to get the tub fixed, the flooring and everything, he told us to take back.
How many people were living in the duplex?
In our apartment?
In your apartment?
4.
4. Including the baby?
Yes, ma'am.
Including the baby. And how old's the other child?
She's 14.
Okay. Do you have that report?
No. This is just stating where it was at.
The health department?
Yes, I thought that piece of paper that I gave you was that one.
No.
This is just
doesn't say
This is just showing where the lead was found in the house.
How old is this duplex?
It was built in 1906, so almost 115 years or so.
Yeah. And they certainly used lead paint
Possibly, yeah, I'm not sure about
I'm
it.
not sure.
I don't
But-
understand about it.
Ms. Kelly, Mr. Jackson, that's not his fault. That's not his fault. So now I would like to know, Mr. Uno is suing you for rent. And I'd like to know first, how much rent were you paying?
$750.
And that's what you were paying under the old lease?
Yes.
And were you current on your rent when Mr. Uno took over the property?
Yes.
In November of 2020?
Yes.
So far correct?
That's accurate.
When did you stop paying rent?
December of 2021.
So you paid rent for a year?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you working, Mr. Jackson?
Yes, when I first moved in, yes, I was working 2 jobs.
And were you working from November of 2020 to December of 2021?
Yes, I was. It was.
For whom?
Yes, I was. I was working for TGI Fridays.
And Ms. Kelly, were you working?
No, ma'am, I'm disabled.
And how much were you receiving in pay?
I was only getting...
If you have to think about it, you don't remember.
Yeah, I wasn't getting too much because it was during COVID, and I was working at a restaurant, and I was only allowed to work 3 days out of the week.
Okay. And what happened in December of 2021?
What happened was he already sent us a letter previously saying that he wanted to go up on the rent to a...
Okay.
Yes, to
So you had
$1,000.
no lease anymore, and he wanted to raise the rent. Okay.
Caption coming up.
I believe you. And that was the reason that you used to try to evict them before.
Yes, that was the first one, but I don't agree with his statement.
Well, what statement don't you agree with?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Isaac, Envy, and Jackson.
Isaac Uno claims his former tenants, Envy Kelly and Kevin Jackson, owe for unpaid rent and property damage. Envy and Kevin are countersuing for child endangerment and a constructive eviction.
And in what month was that?
He sent it to us, I want to say...
Do you remember, Mr. Uno?
It was 90 days before the 1st of December, so that would have been, I think, September 31st or October 31st. Maybe.
That he was raising the rent to what?
To $1,000 a month.
Effective December.
Yes, December 1st.
And what happened in December?
We were, at that time, looking for a new apartment, and at that time it was hard because around that time, a lot of the rent was going up from just being like $800, $900 to like $1,200 to $1,400 for rent for, for a month there.
Don't speak.
Okay.
And that was, why we stopped paying rent, because we were actually looking for a house, even when he gave us the 90 days.
Okay. So, Mr. Jackson, based upon what you just told me, so stop shaking your head, based upon what you told me, your landlord gave you 90 days notice that if you wished to stay on, he was raising your rent to $1,000 a month.
Yes.
And you started to look around for a new place.
Yes.
And the new places were very expensive.
Yes.
And you didn't find a place.
No.
So you decided to stay in this place.
No.
So what did you do?
We...
So if you didn't find a place
we decided,
in December...
We were trying to stay there until we found a place.
I assume they paid rent in September.
Yes.
Oh, yes, yes.
In October?
Yes.
Yes.
They paid rent in October?
Yes.
Good. And November?
November was the last month that they paid.
So they paid in November?
Yes.
So you stopped paying rent in December of 2021?
Yes.
No, you cannot.
Okay.
If I need you,
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
come to you.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Okay.
Because so far he's doing fine. You stopped paying rent in December of 2021. Tell me why.
We didn't want to live there ourselves anymore either. But it was just a lot of things going on at the house. Like after my father passed away, and he first gave us the first eviction notice because he gave us more than one.
Just a second.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We're skipping over.
Okay.
He didn't give you an eviction notice, I assume, until you stopped paying rent.
No, before December, he gave us like 3 of them, I think. I want to say 3.
Really?
Yes.
Why were you trying to evict them before?
They had torn up the carpet upstairs. It was a moratorium for evictions, but there was a stipulation that emergency evictions for nuisance tenants could be granted before then.
Is there any reason why you took up the carpets?
Yes, the same thing before he took over. Everything was in the house before that, and we complained to the previous owner that the carpet was already dirty. They said that they were going to come and shampoo it, but never did. Like, we would walk and our socks would be black, our feet would be black, you know, so we wanted to take the carpet up. It was dirty to us. And I myself actually told him about it. I went downstairs to his apartment because he lived downstairs from us, talked to him about it. He came upstairs and I showed him a section of the carpet that wasn't even connected to the floor. You can lift up the whole carpet and like across a whole section of the wall. And then when I did that, he seen that the hardwood looked kind of decent. And then instead of putting new carpet on, he wanted the hardwood to get sanded down and just get stained and, you know, and lacquered over.
So you took the carpet off?
Yes.
I believe you. Sounds right, Mr. You-know. Okay. And that was the reason that you used to try to evict them before?
Yes, that was the first one. But I don't agree with his statement.
Well, what statement don't you agree with?
Well, a number of things that he said. I didn't authorize him. We spoke. I asked him in the first meeting if there was anything that they wanted to have spruced up or anything as a good gesture, and they took it upon themselves to take up the carpet without my permission.
Okay, not a huge deal. Not a huge deal. You can use it as a huge deal if you want your tenants out because, you know, you can re-rent that duplex for substantially more money.
It was more about their conduct, that they were being very disturbing behavior and just being off the wall. So I wanted them out for a lot of reasons.
Well, I know, but only one of them qualified under the eviction moratorium.
Yes, for emergency of dismantling the
Only
place.
one, and that would have been the carpet. Okay, Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
I'm back to you, sir. I haven't figured out yet. You stopped paying rent in December, and you moved out in what month?
We didn't move out until June.
June. So January, February, March, April, and May. Let's say 5 months' rent that you didn't pay, correct?
Yes.
Why?
Can I speak, Your Honor?
No, him. Tell me why you didn't pay the 5 months' rent, Mr. Jackson.
We just figured that, you know, well, we didn't figure. We didn't want to pay him $1,000 because to us,
Okay, so
we felt
let's
that,
say you didn't want to pay him $1,000, even though you just told me finding another place would be more expensive, right? You said $1,200, $1,400, but you didn't give him $750. You gave him $0 for those 5 months. So I'm going to come back to you, Mr. Jackson. Does your wife receive disability payments because of her disability?
Yes.
Yes. How much a month?
That I don't know.
How much a month do you receive, Ms. Kelly?
$1,000.
$1,000. And did you continue to receive that $1,000 every month from December until June?
Yes, ma'am.
You see, certain things remain constant. Your disability payments remain constant.
Right.
If you live in an apartment and you have the same sort of income, then you pay rent.
Right.
And if you didn't pay $1,000, so I hear you. Well, that's what he said he wanted. And he's the landlord. And he's allowed to do that if you're going to stay in his premises. But you paid nothing, Mr. Jackson, and that's what I don't understand.
Well, the premise was busted.
Just a second.
Yeah.
Miss Kelly.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
What? You paid nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Where did you move in June?
Moved in the same area, like kind of like probably 10 minutes away from that particular street.
Is it a private house or an apartment?
It's a house. Well, it's a duplex as well.
Duplex. So the same sort of setup. And how much rent are you paying?
Pay $950.
So almost as much as he wanted in his rent. But are you more comfortable in that unit?
Yes.
Okay.
Caption coming up.
My wife walked down there and asked was he the landlord, and he just said that he was the building manager. So nobody even got rent for the month of November when we lived there, not him or even the previous people, because he didn't even come upstairs and introduce us.
Well,
But,
I wouldn't complain about that, sir, if you're ahead of the game so far.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Isaac, Anvy, and Jackson.
Isaac claims his tenants, Anvy Kelly and Kevin Jackson, owe for unpaid rent and property damage. Anvy and Kevin claim Isaac forced them to leave.
Now, you saved over 5 months, let's say minimally $750.
$37.50.
$37.50. Now, Mr. the only question that I have to ask you is, Mr. Jackson and Miss Kelly say that they filled out some sort of forms for rent relief during COVID, and you signed it. And they say you received money from the state for any unpaid rent. Did you receive any money from the state for rent that they didn't pay?
No, I approached them with an application, but the program that funds the landlord relief for the moratorium was only open for 1 month, and I came and went and I missed it and I never got it. So I did have them fill out something. It was just a hardship thing, but they didn't give me the money for it. I never received anything.
So you didn't receive any money. So far, Miss Kelly and Mr. Jackson, you owe Mr. $3,750 for rent that you didn't pay while you occupied his premises. You, your furniture, your children, I don't care what it is. That's what you didn't pay. And you can't save up your money and not pay your landlord. That's his business. Just like you work for Fridays and you get your pay when you're supposed to, that's his business. He bought a house. He was counting on the income from that house to pay some of his expenses, and you didn't pay it. Well, there's no question you have to pay it. Now you have a counterclaim. I've already gotten rid of child endangerment. This is 150 years old. Constructive eviction. So I'd like you to tell me your allegations of constructive eviction.
Is that like from him not doing anything to the apartment while we lived there?
I assume. You say you were constructively evicted.
Yes, he...
But you didn't leave.
Yes, he has a couple of text messages in here where he says that he actually came up to the apartment to check things. He brought up when he first got there in November, we didn't have a working toilet until...
Just a second.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
So before he bought it, is that what you're telling me?
I mean, not before, I'm sorry. When he got the apartment in November, the previous owners, we were trying to contact to see who we pay for rent.
Just a second.
Okay, yeah.
He bought the duplex in November of 2020.
Yes.
Is what you're telling me, Mr. Jackson, that certain things weren't working prior to his purchasing the property?
No, I'm sorry. I want to take that back. After he purchased it, we didn't even know he purchased it because he was living downstairs, and my wife walked down there and asked was he the landlord, and he just said that he was the building manager. So nobody even got rent for the month of November when we lived there, not him or even the previous people, because he didn't even come upstairs and introduce us.
Well,
but,
I wouldn't complain about that, sir, if you're ahead of the game so far. If you didn't pay rent for November. You didn't pay the prior landlord and you didn't pay him. So far you're ahead $750. Okay, keep going.
But to go back to the November, so during November, our toilet got stopped up, like right before Thanksgiving.
So shortly after he purchased it, he hadn't been up in the apartment, right?
No, not
just
at all.
you, your wife, your teenage daughter, and the baby.
Yeah, and the kids.
Okay, and the toilet got stopped up, and?
And he brought in a plumber, and then the guy found out that my son put a little toy in there, and he actually got the toy out.
So the toilet was broken by your son. Okay, so now the plumber said, here's the toy. Kid threw a toy down the toilet. Not an unusual, and?
And then the very next month in December, my son didn't put anything down there. The toilet started acting up again. It wouldn't flush for like all the way up until the next year, and it never got fixed. But it was from...
Well, you had to have, sir, you lived there with 3 adults. So there had to be a functioning toilet in the house.
It wasn't functioning.
So where did you go to use a functioning restroom?
Her mom lived up the street from us, so sometimes we lived up the street, or sometimes we would just still use the toilet.
Okay. You owe him $3,750 for rent that you didn't pay. Counterclaims dismissed. We're finished. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Isaac, then Jackson.
I had to collect monetary judgment through the courts.
You know, him being the landlord, he left us like living in crappy conditions.
It was a unbearable situation that I was going through with the noise and the disturbances.
Yeah, he never came up there at all to fix anything.
And the destruction of the property.
He just started making up so many rules, you know, to make it uncomfortable for us to live there.
Well, it was, it's pretty quiet now.
That man is crazy. I'm glad it's over with.
Judy and Sarah.
You know what I think is interesting, Sarah, with these cases, we've had a lot of them. The forgiveness that the government wanted to show to people who were having trouble during COVID, you know, work-related trouble, didn't have the same income, and didn't want to have a whole bunch of dispossessed homeless people. He came from a good place, as did some of the monies that were sent out by the government to sort of help people over a difficult time during the height of COVID. But then there are other people who suffer as a result of that, like a landlord who buys a property, a duplex property. Part of it is for income so that they can pay off mortgage, taxes, lawn service, whatever you have to pay on a house. And then the defendants, who really had no changed circumstances that they indicated to me. He was working, she was getting whatever she gets from disability, which is not insubstantial. I don't know if they get any other assistance for any of their other children, but certainly they moved into a place that's more expensive now, that's not far away. They just decided not to pay rent. And I don't think that that is the spirit of what either the federal government or the states who enacted it meant to happen, because the plaintiff owner of this property has rights too. Yeah. You've taken away a right of his.
I agree to an extent, but I also think that that's more a problem on the government's implementation of the moratorium in the first place. That's what ended up hurting the landlord. These people were simply taking advantage of a legal loophole that was created for them. He was in the restaurant business, which, as we know, was one of the toughest hit by COVID.
Right.
She was on a fixed income that wouldn't be enough to cover, well, barely enough to cover the rent on its own. And then they have to support themselves, feed themselves. They have 2 children. So I'm sympathetic towards the taking advantage of a legal loophole. So I don't know, if I was in your position, I might have decided differently.
Okay.
But that's okay.
All
We
right.
can agree to disagree.
That sometimes happens.
Title: Judy Justice.
Have you been cheated? Go to your friend on Trail Brooks for a car loan.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy.
Have a seat, everyone.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Judge. Case 2108, Howard versus Brooks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Howard, your case is simple. You claim a loan to the defendant for the down payment on a car.
Yes.
When did you make this loan?
March 24th of this year.
How much was it?
I gave him $1,500 and he paid $300.
Where did you take the money from?
I had it at my home.
In cash?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a hairstylist. I'm an owner-operator.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's the sole source of your income?
Yes. I own a salon business. I'm opening my second one.
Tell me how you know the defendant.
He was a client of a former stylist many years ago, so I met him through the salon.
Did you have any sort of relationship with him?
At the time that I met, no.
No. At the time that you gave him this loan,
we were friends.
What did he say he needed the loan for?
To get a vehicle.
To get a car?
He was at Mercedes trying to purchase another car, and I knew he had a baby on the way, so I felt it was...
I want to know what he said to you.
He said that he needed help with the down payment. He was short some for a down payment on a car that he wanted.
Did you have that conversation on the phone or in person?
Yeah, he called me and asked me for originally $2,500 to help him with the down payment. And I told him, well, I don't know if I have that much. I'll see what I can get him. I had the $1,500. He came to pick it up at my home.
And that was on the 24th of March?
Yes.
When did you purchase your car?
I believe it was the 24th as well.
You have any paperwork for the car? What paperwork do you have there? I just want to see what you brought with you today.
Basically, the lien holder paper.
And what is that supposed to tell me?
I believe it has the date on there when I purchased it.
Okay. And how much did you put down on the car?
$9,000.
Did you trade in a car?
No.
Why did you need $2,500 from her?
I actually didn't ask for it. I just mentioned to her that I
Now, well,
needed
just a
it.
second. I asked you a question.
Okay.
Why did you need extra money towards the down payment? Did it affect the payments? Did it affect the insurance? Did it affect the
yes.
premium?
Basically, the car, it was like $74,000. So if I was to put down a lower payment, like you were saying, the payment would be higher for the monthly. So if I put down a little more, it dropped it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she gave you $1,500, not $25.
Yes.
But she gave you $1,500.
Yes.
And she gave that to you around the same time that you purchased the car. Were you current in your insurance payments on the car?
Yes.
And then you crashed the car.
Yes.
And the insurance company paid the lien holder on the car.
Yes.
Made the payout.
Yes.
So you didn't get any money from the insurance.
No.
So now you have no car, right? I don't know if you have a car now.
I have a car, yes.
Well, you got another car.
Yes.
What kind of car did you buy?
Tesla.
A Tesla. And how much did you pay for the Tesla?
I put down like $8,000.
Where'd you get the $8,000 from?
I work. I have a place where I hold traveling nurses.
Did you take the money out of a bank, or did you have it in cash?
I had it in cash.
The $8,000.
Yeah.
How much money do you make from this business that you have?
It varies depending on how many nurses I have staying there.
So you own the property, or do you manage the property?
I manage the property. So it's basically housing nurses or people that travel for business.
And how long have you had that business?
I've been doing that for maybe a couple years now.
That's how you support yourself?
That, and I do training as well, fitness training.
Okay, so now you paid back $300 of the $15, right?
I gave her $300.
Right, and when did you give her the $300?
I'm not quite sure the date, but
Give me a month.
I'm not quite sure.
When did he give you the $300?
May 17th.
Okay.
Tell me why you gave back the $300.
I gave it back to her because she basically...
Not basically, this is basically.
Well, because she kept asking for it. So just to get her off me for a second. So I gave her $300. Just I didn't feel like I owed it to her because I thought that, you know, it was given to me because we were like really cool.
Just a second. Okay. All right. Well, Miss Howard.
You
Miss
can't
Howard.
be serious.
Miss Howard.
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been operating your two salons?
I'm opening a new one now, and the first one was opened in 2012.
Do you live with anyone?
My children.
How many kids do you have?
I have 3.
How old are they?
I have a 17, 18, and 21-year-old.
Big kids?
Yeah, college and high school, yes.
Who supports them?
I do.
From
Their
your
father
work?
helps too, yes.
From your work. Do you live with their father?
No.
No. But he also helps.
Yes,
with
he
them.
does.
And you sound like a really intelligent, put-together woman who's had her own business, who's got 3 kids, college kids.
Yes.
Moving forward.
Yes.
Why? Why do you think, you know, I know that you work, because if you're a hairdresser and that's your source of income, you work really hard. It takes a long time to accumulate $1,500. You know, I'm sure you get some tips and stuff. That's the cash that you keep.
Yeah.
So you work hard and you've got 3 kids who need money. He wants to buy an uber expensive car and he wants his payments to be lower. So he says to you, not that he needs it. See, he doesn't need it to get a car. He wants it to make his payments lower.
That's not how he presented it to me.
How did he present it to you?
He said he needs help, he needs the money for the down payment, and I knew, he told me that, you know, the situation, his car got taken away or whatever. And
his car got what?
His previous vehicle was taken from him.
From how?
I don't know.
What kind of a car did you have? Before you bought the BMW?
That's what it was. It was a BMW.
Oh, and then you bought a Mercedes?
Yeah.
Okay, so you bought, sorry, I got that confused. You bought the Mercedes using some of her money. Before that, you had a BMW.
Yes.
Okay, and now you have a Tesla. Do you understand how foolish that sounds?
Yes.
You don't want to sound foolish.
Well, like I said, he's had a baby on the way any day now, and my compassion for the situation, I was like, okay, I'll give you that. And I know he's had a source of income. It's not like I've ever known him not to have an income. So I felt like, okay, he'll do right by me. Of course, he didn't. We see.
Do you know how many people stand in exactly that spot and say, you know, I trusted him, he gave me this story, gave me that story?
Yes.
And what I'm telling you is, most of the people standing there, for some reason that has always baffled me, are women.
Caption coming up.
Any guy who takes money from you to lower his car payment and buys a car for $75,000. The only people that do that sort of thing are untrustworthy. Then you change the contract and you said not acceptable. You're behind $500 and a late payment will only be acceptable with a current payment. Is there anything about that in your contract?
There's not.
Okay, so if it's not in your contract, it doesn't exist.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Van Ness and Antrell.
Van Ness Howard claims her former friend, Antrell Brooks, owes for a car loan.
Most of the people standing there, for some reason that has always baffled me, are women.
Yeah.
Very rarely do I have guys standing there and say, you know, she asked me for this, and so I knew she had a baby on the way, and I felt sorry for it, so I gave them money.
Right.
Most of the time, they say goodbye, which is what you should have said. And
Absolutely.
You appear to be much too fine a lady and a hard-working lady. Don't give anybody.
No more.
Any guy who takes money from you to lower his car payment and buys a car for $75,000 and asks you for $1,000 or $2,000, knowing that you're a working gal and that he didn't need it to buy a car. He could have bought a car for $50,000. He could have bought a car for $30,000.
Right.
Likes to drive fancy cars with somebody else's money, okay?
Yes.
So the only people that do that sort of thing are untrustworthy, usually, as my great-grandmother would call them, bums. So I would suggest that you be smart in the future. You're a hardworking lady. Hold on to your money. If you want to invest in anything, invest in your children's future. We're done here. Judge complaint.
This court is adjourned.
Mr. Brooks took my money with no intentions of paying back.
I thought it was, she gave it to me.
Oh, car crashed, my tires got slashed.
I thought it was a gift because she really liked me.
Don't let men borrow money.
Judy and Sarah.
Lovely woman, hardworking woman. She's going to have a chain, as Dolly Parton would say, have a chain. Going to have a second salon. On the other side, you have somebody with zero judgment.
He's well-versed in other people's money.
Why a perfectly sensible, bright woman would take money that she worked really hard for and give it to somebody that she hardly knows.
Women have to be smarter.
The women have to be smarter, worry about themselves.
Yeah.
Case 2113, Pickett versus Glick. All parties, please step forward.
William Pickett is suing his former friend, Clinton Gick, for unpaid car payments and vehicle damage.
Mr. Pickett, you and the defendant, according to what I've read, were friends. You knew each other.
Yes.
You had a car that you were interested in selling. The defendant was interested in purchasing the car. Your car was 10 or 11-year-old vehicle,
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
When had you purchased it?
I purchased it about a year or so prior.
So you only had the car for a year. You were not an original owner.
Yeah.
Did you pay cash?
I did.
How much did you pay for the car?
Roughly $10,000, $10,000.
No, I want to know. I mean, you came to court today, not a roughly. Today we know the numbers. We're not talking about something that happened 20 years ago, something that happened a year ago. You bought a car a year ago. You paid cash for it, according to you. I want to know how much you paid for it. That's easy. You should have those records.
$10,000.
Well, now you say 10, right?
Yep.
Now you say 10. So now I'm going to tell you to go outside and get me the bill of sale for the car.
I did not bring that.
Why?
I didn't think I needed it.
How am I supposed to ascertain what you paid for the car, sir?
I didn't think about that.
Should have thought about it. I thought about it right off the bat. You had the car for 1 year. And when did you sell it to the defendant?
3/18 of 22.
For how much?
$10,000.
Well, then you're a genius businessman, because unless this 10, 11-year-old car, Mr. Pickett, had something really unusual about it, most cars depreciate the moment you drive them out of a lot. You bought this car from a company, which means you paid more for it than if you purchased it through a private person. You understand that?
Yes.
Of course. So there was clearly a markup. Sarah, take a look at a 2012 Dodge Charger
with
148,000 miles.
I got it. Between 7,500 and 10,000 for a private party sale.
Okay, so as I thought, the value of the car went down from when you bought it, but you sold it to him for $10,000 because he was making payments, I assume because he was making payments. Did you have a written contract?
I did.
I'd like to take a look at it.
William hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Mr. Glick, how did you know each other, sir?
We worked together. We'd known each other for about a year, I think, at the time the car was sold.
Okay, so the first thing was he traded in something of value, which was he gave you a car.
Correct.
What kind of car did he give you?
A Honda minivan.
Did you have the title to that?
Yes, I did.
Did he turn over the title to you?
He did.
What did you do with the Honda minivan?
I sold it.
To whom?
Someone off of Facebook Marketplace.
Okay, when did you sell it?
A few weeks afterwards.
How much did you sell it for? How much did you say you sold it for?
$1,000, $1,200.
Let's get specific, Mr. Pickett.
$1,000.
I'm not exactly sure what he sold it for, but clearly acknowledges at least $1,000. So this is what the lawsuit is about, and I've read your contract. According to the contract that you have here, you listed the dates, the schedule of payments, and you marked off when he paid and when he didn't. But we're going to go through the dates, and your lawsuit seeks damages to the car, repo fees, the unpaid contract price of the car because you repossessed it and you want him to continue until he's finished paying for it, right? That's what you want.
Yes, ma'am.
And the defendant has a counterclaim. And his counterclaim, in effect, although he doesn't articulate it in legalese, the basis of his countersuit is that there was never any meaningful breach of the contract and that he tried to make his payments pursuant to the contract and that you repossessed the car without just cause, and he's counterclaiming for the money that he put into the car as equity. That's what your counterclaim is.
That's
correct? Okay. So far you put in $4,000. According to this, he paid you March of 2022, April. As a matter of fact, he made 2 payments.
Correct. Payment schedule was for every 2 weeks.
Shh. 6/17, he made a partial payment, but made that up on 7/1, so he was up to date. Then you say on the 15th of July, he missed a payment. Did you miss a payment the 15th of July?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Tell me why.
At that point, the plaintiff had already threatened to repossess the car several times before I'd ever missed a payment on the car.
Because you made a partial payment once in June.
Yeah, and also...
But then made it up again within 2 weeks.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so you had already said to him, you missed payments, I'm going to repossess the car.
I informed, I didn't threaten to repossess it.
No.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you missed a payment on July 15th.
Yes, and I informed him when I missed the payment that the reason for missing it, he had just filed for bankruptcy, and with his bankruptcy and the threats to repossess the car, I had decided that I wanted to miss, as it states in the contract, that I could miss 2 consecutive payments before repossession. I wanted to talk to a lawyer and make sure that I wasn't going to be putting even more money into a car
that you weren't going to have equity in.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's why you missed July 15th.
Yes, that's
okay.
correct.
And it's the 29th of July also missed.
Yes. So I attempted to give Mr. Pickett a $500 payment on the 29th. He refused to accept that payment, and I have that in text.
I'd like to see it.
Text messages.
I'd like to see it. Do you acknowledge that he attempted to give you a payment on the 29th?
Yeah, he attempted to make a partial payment.
He attempted to give you $500.
Correct.
Clinton hands a document to Kevin.
And tell me why you didn't accept the $500. He missed the payment on the 15th.
I informed him on the 16th that I would not accept a late payment unless it's in conjunction with the current payment.
You can't change the contract, sir. You can't change a written contract.
Caption, coming up.
There was a loan on this car.
Yeah, there was a title loan on it.
Oh, you didn't tell me that. That adds a different wrinkle to this whole thing because he told me you paid cash for the car, so I assume there was not a problem.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, William and Clinton.
William Pickett claims his former friend, Clinton Gick, owes for car payments and vehicle damage. Clinton is countersuing, claiming William sold the car under false pretenses.
Now, you had a written contract with him. If you're changing the terms, he has to agree to the terms in writing in the same force and manner of the original contract, which is this in writing signed by both parties. You have a contract here. The contract says he can't miss 2 consecutive payments. He wasn't missing 2 consecutive payments. He missed July 15th, and he tried to give you one on the 29th of July. If you refuse to accept it, he hasn't missed 2 payments. You refuse to accept the second one. Got it?
Got it.
Kevin brings a document from Clinton to Judy.
Okay, well, I see the interchange, Mr. Pickett, and the interchange clearly says you're paying your $1,000 today or returning my car. He says, I'll be giving you my $500 payment that's due today. Then you changed the contract and you said, not acceptable. You're behind $500 and a late payment will only be acceptable with a current payment. Is there anything about that in your contract?
There's not.
Okay, so if it's not in your contract, it doesn't exist, and you had so far no reason to repossess the car. Did he try to make a payment to you in August?
I think one other time between the time I repossessed it.
Okay, well, you had no reason to repossess it so far unless he missed 2 consecutive payments or unless he failed to keep insurance. Did he fail to keep insurance?
I have never been given proof of insurance.
This doesn't require that you are given proof of insurance.
Or not.
This doesn't say you require proof. Did you have insurance on the car?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Through whom?
Erie Insurance Agency.
Okay, and you have no information to the contrary?
I don't.
Okay, fine. So at the time you repossessed the car so far, Mr. Pickett, you didn't have basis under your contract to repossess the car.
There was also other terms that I believed he had violated.
Well, let's hear them. So far, he didn't miss 2 consecutive payments. Had you filed for bankruptcy?
I had started filing for bankruptcy, yeah.
Is that completed?
Still hasn't been discharged yet. I think I have another month or so.
Was this the first time you filed for bankruptcy? Yes, buyer misses 2 or more consecutive payments. Buyer fails to maintain full coverage under insurance, any significant damage to the vehicle that is not repaired in 30 days. Did you notify Mr. Glick of any damage to the car, give him notice, and say, pursuant to the contract, it has to be fixed in 30 days?
We had talked about it when he came to drop off one of his payments, and he said...
Well, give me a month.
It was...
A month and a year.
It was in June.
June of 2022, he came over to drop off a payment, and that would have either been on June 3rd or June 17th.
Correct.
Okay, and tell me about the conversation.
I said, hey, there's a dent in the front now. And he said he'll get taken care of. At that point, I didn't really inspect the car because...
Well, I don't care what you didn't do. Yeah. I want to know what you did.
Yeah, I told him, it needs to be fixed. And he said he'll get taken care of.
Okay, and?
When I repossessed it, it was still there, as well as more damage.
Okay. Did he talk to you about the dent in the front?
I don't recall that conversation ever happening. There was text messages sent to me about damage to the car. The car had dents and dings all over it when I got the car. I mean, the front bumper even had significant damage to it.
You repossessed the car at the end of August. Where is the car now?
At my house.
What's it doing at your house?
I was just sitting there for the moment.
Well, what's your intention to do with the car?
Give it up in my bankruptcy or repair it and keep it and pay it off.
Who has the title?
The title loan company.
So there was a loan on this car?
Yeah, there was a title loan on it.
Oh, you didn't tell me that. That adds a different wrinkle to this whole thing because you told me you paid cash for the car, so I assume there was not a problem. When did you take out a title loan on the car?
I took out the title loan.
Month and year?
One of them was in December of 21.
Did you know that there was a title loan taken out on this car?
I knew that there was one. I didn't know that there were multiple. I don't know. But yeah, I did know there was a title loan.
Did you know in what amount?
No, I was never.
Well, that's pretty dumb of you.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, because if you're buying something free and clear that he owes nothing on, that's one thing. How much was the title loan?
Roughly $6,000 is what was owed on it still at that point when he bought it.
How much did you pay off?
A few thousand by that point. It's super high interest.
Okie dokie. Mr. Pickett, your claim against the defendant is dismissed. I'm now entertaining his counterclaim. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You get stuck with this car. Now, problem is, you drove this car.
Yes,
was it your primary source of driving the car?
Yes, it was.
Okay. For 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, Mr. Glick, this was your primary vehicle. How much do you think it would cost you to rent a car per month? Per month. Give me a figure.
To rent a car?
Yeah.
Per month, I would say $900 a month, probably something like that, $900,000 a month, maybe.
Okay. Based upon what you told me, it's not so egregious because you had the use of the car for 10 months. I actually don't think that an 11-year-old car would cost that much to rent. $900 a month, considering that you also paid for your own insurance.
Correct.
And if you rented a car, that the insurance would, of necessity, come with a car. Sarah, could you look up for me best deals on leasing a Dodge Charger? I don't know what that is. Is that a truck?
It's a car.
Is there a site where you could look that up?
I'll see what I could find.
But the intention was that money was going to go towards, something that I would own.
Well, I understand that,
right.
but you had full use of his property for 10 months.
Sure.
You don't think it's fair for you not to pay for some of that use?
I would think the depreciation in the car for the mileage that I put on it would be more than fair. Absolutely.
Everything depends on how much you put down versus how much you pay monthly, so there's a wide
range. Give me the range. He didn't put anything.
$786 a month, $843 a month, but these are for brand new Dodge Chargers, not for 2012.
Oh.
So.
Okay. And according to you, the current low price on this car is $7,500 price.
For a private party.
For a private party, low price, $7,500.
Yes.
So you're going to resell this car, and the car is currently in working order, and the low price on that car is $7,500, right?
Yes.
And he's already paid you $5,000.
Yes.
In order to break even, if you sold that car, all you need is $2,500.
Correct.
So I think that it's more than fair to give you credit for the $2,500 from what you paid.
Okay.
You paid $5,000. Half of that seems to be a more than reasonable figure to have full use of his property, and he repossessed the car. I don't think he had any basis to repossess the car, which is why he dismissed his case. And you certainly don't want to get involved with bankruptcies and payments, so you don't want this car back, because getting this car back will be more trouble for you than anything else.
Exactly.
I absolutely understand that, because then you're dealing with his creditors and whatever. I'm not trusting that whole situation. In any event, I don't think that you paying $2,500 towards the rental of the car over a 10-month period is unreasonable, and then he's whole. Then if he wants to spend money to have the car spruced up before he sells it, well, maybe he can get $8,500 for it, and then he's whole. So now everybody's happy. Judgment on the counterclaim for $2,500. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
I'm very happy.
Needed a car, I had a car.
I don't think it was an honest transaction on his part.
I'll keep buying and selling.
So yeah, I think he was just trying to get a quick payday.
Sarah and Judy.
So I just want to make sure I have this right. The defendant was paying the plaintiff $1,000 a month towards the vehicle that the plaintiff had a title loan out on, but instead of paying off the title loan so the defendant would have the car free and clear,
right,
he decided to keep the payments and not pay off the title loan.
Correct. Which means that even after he completed the payments, which he was halfway finished with, he could not have gotten clear title.
Yeah.
Because the title is with the loan company. And he's filed for bankruptcy, so you can't come against him. Slick.
Yeah, sticky situation.
Yeah.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
আমরা খেলতেই পারি না যায় হ্যালো কি ভাই হ্যালো আসসালামু আলাইকুম ওয়ালাইকুম আসসালাম সামনে সামনে হ্যাকার 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 আমার